Good morning. I'm calling this meeting together. This is a regular open meeting of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. This is Tuesday, August 6th, 2019, and welcome. This morning, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance, and it will be led by Director Soul.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Acknowledging the media, yes, we've got the Globe, and we are on TV. Approval of the agenda. So moved. Do you have a second? All those in favor? Thank you. Approval of the minutes of meetings and the July 2nd, 2019 regular open session. All those in favor? Thank you. July 8th, 2019, the All Boards, All Directors Special Meeting.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Thank you. And then on July 10th, the special open meeting on the budget 2019, July 10th, 2019. Do I have a motion? Second. All those in favor? Thank you so much. And where we are now is the report of the chair. I just have been thinking lately about our boards and how well we're working together and thinking about it, and just kind of reflecting 5 years ago, we were really in the midst of a huge transition to self-management and in the governance here in Laguna Woods Village. And so many changes have occurred during this 5-year period from 2014, right about 2014 till now. One change that has a positive effect on the governance of the village that really I'm so happy to see is the collaboration and working together among all of our boards. All of our boards are different and unique. The Towers Mutual 50 is obviously a different type of housing mutual. United Mutual with the co-ops and the condos in Third, and VMS, who works so closely with our staff, is their responsibility, and GRF with the activities, recreation, and facilities. So we have different purposes, but we have a singular purpose that we do work toward together, and that is working toward the common good of all in Laguna Woods Village. That's a goal that we all share together and work well together. An example of the boards working together is a meeting that we have once a month, and it's the presidents and vice presidents of each of the boards that I just mentioned meet. We share ideas, concerns, positive thoughts. It's kind of like a job-alike meeting. I know that probably somewhere back in your career, throughout your lifetime, you did partake in some kind of a job-alike meeting. I can think back as a school administrator and meeting with other administrators and talking about things in our schools and ideas and just discussing ideas and concerns and successes. Another time I can remember as a mom meeting other moms at the Little League field and talking about what's working here with this child and that child and how things are happening. So that's kind of like a job-alike meeting is what we do as the presidents and vice presidents. There are no formal agendas or minutes for our meetings. We did want to check and make sure that this was an okay thing to do, and we checked with our attorneys and we're assured that this meeting was absolutely fine. In fact, one of our attorneys, the attorney for United, did write a letter addressing the how we were legally covered to have this meeting. It's not a big old secret meeting, it's kind of a job-alike and helping out one another meeting. Another example, kind of a more formal manner of working together, is the job sharing discussion that we are working on right now. This past January, the officers of all of the above boards that I mentioned, as well as the directors of each department, the staff directors of each of our departments, and our CEO and our COO, met with the common purpose of working together to form a strategic plan looking at the future 3 to 5 years down the line. What do we want to be able to accomplish? And so we came up with a strategic plan, and the very first goal in this strategic plan is to ensure financial stability and longevity. And addressing this cost-sharing concept was an objective in this goal. So to accomplish this goal, we said one of the things we would be looking toward is looking at the concept of cost-sharing, and with the objective under ensuring financial stability and longevity. So in designing a means for GRF to address this, I formed a task force under the leadership of our treasurer, Diane Phelps, because this really is looking at financial type ideas. And she is tasked with researching ways that GRF can raise funds to possibly offset raising assessments. First Vice President Annette Soul is the other part of that, looking at the other part of that task force, and that is, what is the concept of cost sharing that we agree on is the concept that's in place now in 2019 in this village? So Annette will be looking at a variety of different blueprints or ideas for cost sharing and come up with several that she will bring to the corporate members to discuss and decide upon. I've asked each of these directors, our treasurer and our first vice president, to please explain their part and responsibility that they have on this very important task force, and then they'll return the conversation back to me. So Diane, would you begin, please?
Thank you, Beth. I just wanted to start off saying I can honestly tell you that GRF has no plans in place for new construction or to sell any of our land, nor have we really had such discussions. But let me tell you what we have been doing. As Beth mentioned, we have a group looking at options to address complaints about cost sharing and trying to keep our portion of the monthly assessment down. As she said, the group reports to the GRF Finance Committee, which is made up of board members from GRF, United, Third, and the Towers, as well as advisors. As she said, I'm heading the group that looks for alternative sources of revenue. We've only had one meeting. It was a brainstorming session on July 17th that was open to everyone. We encouraged residents to come to the meeting to share their ideas, or they could send them to me via email. We publicized the meeting in e-blasts, our website, in the Globe, and on TV. Overall, we received about 50 ideas of additional revenue sources. Among them was an idea to rebuild Clubhouse 1 with office space on the top 3 floors. Other ideas included developing real estate on GRF property, running a pet daycare, selling ad space on buses, operating a convenience store, opening snack bars, and opening the Performing Arts Center to the public. Those are just a few. As I said, there were 50 and they were wide-ranging. We very much appreciate those who shared their ideas, but that's all they are, ideas. We'll soon be soliciting people to join us as we research various ideas. If you propose an idea, maybe you should consider participating with us. Excuse me. We're only a research team. We aren't decision makers. The team will report to the GRF Finance Committee, which will decide whether or not to recommend the board take action on any of the ideas. We're committed to being open and visible, but this is one of those situations where our transparency and openness have caused confusion. I apologize to those who heard the ideas and assumed decisions had been made. Our goal is for the GRF board to be in a position to make a decision on some of the ideas by March of 2020 as we begin looking at our 2021 budget. We have no plans to operate in the shadows to secretly develop a major construction project. We appreciate input, feedback, and support from corporate members as well as residents. I can assure you that this board understands and operates within our bylaws and trust agreement and will seek corporate approval accordingly. Please don't rely on the Globe as your only source of information for what is going on in the village. GRF and the mutuals don't own it, operate it, or have editorial control over it. Their writers don't have time to attend and write articles on all of our committee meetings. And the letters to the editor are simply one person's opinion and may or may not be factually accurate. No matter how transparent we are, though, you won't really know what's going on unless you take the time to watch our televised board meetings and to attend our many, way too many committee meetings. Now, Annette will address the shared cost.
Thank you, Diane. Shared costs, a way of life. Continuous review of this concept and our amenities is advocated by members. The importance of maintaining the shared cost concept. This committee is not looking at radical changes in how the assessment is implemented. Every one of us bought into Laguna Woods Village knowing the shared cost concept existed, or we should have known, offering all residents an equal opportunity to take part in activities. However, what exactly is shared cost in 2021? Is Laguna Woods Village truly a shared cost community? We will be looking at the Laguna Woods Village shared cost definition for 2021 and beyond. Affecting the shared cost. What is that even? What do we agree on? Not eliminating shared costs, we will be totally addressing this issue. Does Laguna Woods Village want to convert to a pay-for-play community? Are there any facets of the current Laguna Woods Village services that should be free? Are there any facets of the current Laguna Woods Village services that should be eliminated? Shared costs, facility high-cost centers, single-use items. We need to develop objective standards of looking at expenses to determine fees. The next committee meeting will be Thursday, August the 15th from 10 to noon here in the boardroom. As Diane indicated, we are only a research team. We aren't decision makers. The team will report its findings to the GRF Finance Committee, which will decide whether or not to recommend the GRF board take action on any or all ideas. We are committed to being open and visible. We will be just now in the formulation stage, and then at the end, we will target 2 or 3 things along with the definition. So this is truly research. All right, and now I'll turn this back to Beth. Thank you.
So these 2 examples of our meeting together as the presidents and vice presidents, as well as this research team for researching the cost-sharing concept. They're examples of Laguna Woods boards working together, and they were questioned in a letter to the editor of the Globe by a Laguna Woods City Councilman. We hope this helps to clarify GRF and all boards' relationships. However, the councilwoman and any other citizen who has concerns regarding GRF actions are encouraged to attend our meetings, as Diane said, our many meetings, when we are exploring these ideas. We will not reach any huge decision in the area of cost sharing until it's brought to the corporate members to make any kind of a decision. They may decide not to decide, but that's where it will go. But we will explore, come up with the ideas, and share on the different levels. As Annette said, it will go to finance, it will come to us, it will come to corporate members. Anyway, you're encouraged to attend our meetings and communicate with several individual directors. If you have a question, ask one person, then ask the other, and see how much information that you can gain. We continue to address cost sharing and researching other sources of revenue in attempting to keep our assessments reasonable as we go toward the purpose of trying to do what's best for Laguna Woods Village. Thank you. So next on the agenda is oftentimes our VMS rep would be addressing us. But we're starting a new procedure, and we've asked our disaster prep representative to please report every other month, and that's Judith Troutman. She's our representative, and have her report. Director Troutman will report, and then the next month we'll have a report from our VMS representative. So thank you, Judith.
Good morning. Disaster Preparedness Task Force. Who are we? We are the Laguna Woods Village Disaster Preparedness Task Force. We are not a GRF committee. During a disaster, we coordinate with our staff, VMS Security, Orange County Emergency Management Sheriff's Department, the City of Laguna Woods, the Fire Authority, Red Cross, Edison, and El Toro Water District, to name a few. The EOP, Emergency Operating Plan, includes emergency warning systems, evacuations, use of clubhouses as our care and reception centers, how the Easy Rider buses will be used during a natural disaster, and how communication will flow throughout the village and with our local authorities. In order for first responders to know where to go, an important link in our communication system, and in my opinion, probably the most important link. In an emergency, the Good Neighbor Captain will take only 3 minutes to knock on a neighbor's door, ask if there are any injuries, requiring whether they need a medic or emergency care, and noting whether it's yes or no, just on this simple form here. Then they would also fill out just check a box and put this little door hanger on that door so that if they do need emergency care, the first responders can easily identify that manor as the one on the list where they're trying to find. So in an emergency, I say the Good Neighbor Captain will take 1 to 3 minutes to knock on their door. If there's any injuries or they require a medic, they would fill out this form. The Good Neighbor will then bring that information sheet to the nearest clubhouse during our exercises. This varied from 1 to 3 minutes per manor. This information is then sent from the EOC or the Emergency Operating Center to the first responders. This is the quickest way to get that life or death information to the first responders. Remember, phone lines will be jammed. There may be no power or other forms of communication available during a serious disaster. We are encouraging residents to step up and be assigned as Good Neighbor Captains for your building or an adjacent building. If you are in a 3-story building, however, you can just take half a floor, maybe 4 to 5 manors. The Disaster Preparedness Task Force Good Neighbor Captains are not to be confused with Garden Villa building captains, 2 separate things. However, if you are assigned in a 3-story building, it'd be a good idea to introduce yourself to that building's building captain. We are also propagating a list of individuals with any medical background, and those volunteers could assist at our clubhouse care and reception centers during such an emergency. Please consider volunteering for either of these valuable positions. It is a rewarding experience and a wonderful way to support your neighborhood and your community. You can go online for more information. We have the sign-up sheets online, or you can call the Disaster Preparedness Office at 949-597-4237, or just stop by the office, which is in this building of the community center in the far northeast corner of the building. Or 3, you can go to our next Good Neighbor Building Captains Training, which will be on October 16th, Clubhouse 7, between 1 and 3. So even if you don't call ahead of time, which you can and make a reservation, you can just show up and get more information on being a new Good Neighbor Captain. We also have a first aid class on September 16th. That's a Monday from 1 to 4, Clubhouse 7. And we have a CPR AED training class on October 21st, 2019, from 1 to 4, also at Clubhouse 7. So if you're interested in any of those classes or want more information on the positions I just spoke of, you can go to any of those meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith, such important information. And next, we will have our CEO, Jeff Harker.
Thank you, Chair. I have a few things I wanted to just remind the board and the individuals here in the audience today. Yesterday, GRF had their budget review of version 2, as you know. You all sat through that presentation yesterday. And the GRF board accepted staff's recommendation in moving forward with the 2020 budget, which will be on your board agenda for September for final approval. Within that recommendation from the staff, the 2020 assessment will increase by $2.77 for a total of a $205.60 assessment. The important things I wanted to note with that was that the board did a great job working with the staff and asking questions and allowing us to present to you that the actual operating budget for GRF was reduced, and that increase of $2.77 really reflects an increase of $5 that you're putting in your reserves. So diligently looking at your reserves and knowing what you wanted to build up, you were able to do that. And at the same time, reducing your operating expenditures in order to facilitate that $2.77 assessment. Just in context, I mentioned this to the board yesterday. In 2010, the GRF assessment was $216.22. So actually your assessment this year is $10 lower than it was in 2010. If you take an average over the last 10 years, next year's assessment at 205 is actually $1 lower than the 10-year average of 206. So you're managing your money well, I would say, and we appreciate the fact that you work so diligently with the staff. I said city staff. I'm so used to saying that. With the village staff to put the budget before you yesterday. I just wanted to, that kind of leads me into the second comment, which both Annette and Diane have done a great job at talking about the committee and its next steps. I wanted to mention relative to reiterating what the chair said. This really came out of our strategic plan objective that we wanted to do, and creating a financial sustainability for the village in the long term and doing the analysis to take care of that. So looking at shared cost and looking at additional revenues is really important. I want to note that when the importance of new revenue, the non-assessment revenue in GRF is $13 million relative to a $37 million operation. So if we didn't have that $13 million, you would be looking at an additional $87 in assessments. So it is important to continue to look at revenue and to look at ways to bring in additional money so that we can continue to keep these assessments from growing at a rate that you don't want to see. The other thing, obviously, is for our operations to continue to look at ways of reducing costs, which is, in fact, what we did this year with regards to your operations. So they go hand in hand. But I wanted to report, more importantly, because some of the nuances that are out there and people are hearing, we're not in financial trouble. This isn't a financial trouble issue. This is looking for the future, looking in the next 15 to 20 years. Where are we going? How are we going to pay for for the activities that we want. We certainly have a lot of resources that we need to keep and maintain appropriately. And so it really is about how we are going to manage our money in the future and how are we going to be able to maintain the operation that you want for your community. With regards to that, I just wanted to mention the strategic objectives. We had 3 that we identified right off the bat that we wanted to accomplish by November, which we're moving right on target with that, and that is the analysis of the shared cost policy, as mentioned before, looking at additional revenues and identifying opportunities that we can create financial sustainability throughout that project. So we are on our way. Thank you to the board for your working relationship with the VMS staff. I think we're in good hands, and I think we're in good direction. So with that, those were the main issues that I wanted to bring up, but I do have some additional reports to provide to you, and I'm going to turn that over to the CEO, Siobhan Foster, to follow up on that.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, Honorable President, members of the board. I would like to start out this morning with a few project updates. As you're probably all aware, gates 10 and 14 opened 2 weeks earlier than scheduled. I really want to compliment staff for making this happen. And that leaves gate 4 to reopen, and that is scheduled to reopen on Monday, August 19th. And then that will complete this phase of the project, and we're very excited to have that completed and our security enhanced throughout the village. In terms of the electronic vehicle charging stations, you may have noticed the construction going on in the northwest corner of the parking lot behind this building. 5 new electronic charging stations are being installed. These are adjacent to the 2 current stations in our parking lot. And 75% of this cost is being reimbursed by Southern California Incentive Project. So it's a very good project for the village to be involved with. We also introduced a new village bus into our fleet. That took place on Wednesday, July 24th. This bus was tested by the Mobility and Vehicles Committee before it was purchased. It features a low floor ramp and accommodates up to 20 passengers or different configurations of passengers. For example, 18 riders in 1 wheelchair or 16 patrons in 2 wheelchairs can occupy the bus. I would also like to remind our residents to use Dwelling Live to simplify guest access for their visitors. Register guests online and print passes 24 hours a day using a computer, tablet, or a smartphone. Simply visit the lagunawoodsvillage.com website, click on Residents, and then click on Guest Passes. This will allow you to print your own guest passes for your visitors. If you have questions, you may also contact Resident Services for assistance with Dwelling Live. A couple other reminders. We would like to remind our residents that they have the option of 3 different types of bulky item pickups when they need to get rid of large items from their units. There's the monthly bulky item pickup, which is offered on the 3rd Saturday of each month. No prior notification or ticket is required. Residents simply need to place items curbside or next to the collection bin. The second option is incidental bulky pickup, which occurs on the regularly scheduled service day. You need to place your items next to the dumpster or trash enclosure to take advantage of this option, and you must notify Resident Services in advance that you will be setting out items to take advantage of this service. And finally, residents are entitled to 2 in-home pickups per year, and each pickup will take care of a maximum of 5 items per pickup. Items collected from the inside of the residence, and again, residents must notify Resident Services in advance to take care of to arrange for the in-house pickups. And lastly, from the landscaping division, they wanted us to let residents know that mulching is going to begin in earnest in the village on August 10th. There have been some recent mechanical problems that have delayed our mulching efforts. But on Saturday, August 10th, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., staff will be mulching flower beds and cul-de-sacs 11, 58, 218, 220, and 223. Additionally, free mulch will be available in the Clubhouse 4 parking lot from Friday, August 9th through Tuesday, August 13th for any residents who want to pick up mulching for their own use at their units. So again, you'll see a lot of mulching activity coming in the next few weeks, so please bear with us as that is a beneficial service to our community. And that concludes my updates this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan, and thank you, Jeff. Next, we have the open forum. At this time, the speakers may address the Board of Directors regarding items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation. There's a maximum time limit of 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker may only address the board once during this period. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum, and that's 3 minutes. Cheryl, who do we have?
Our first speaker is Chris Collins.
Welcome, Chris.
Chris Collins, 3306Q. First of all, I want to thank all of you on the board that have so conscientiously tithe your time and talent to this project of transparency and of showing, very in a detailed manner what is going on in our best interest. So thank you. But I'm really here for to give you an update about the foundation of Laguna Woods Village. And I'm here to declare, and this is a funny place to do it, but the foundation of Laguna Woods Village is not GRF. So be it. Amen. Sometimes residents confuse the foundation of Laguna Woods Village with GRF, which is the Golden Rain Foundation, but they are two distinct organizations. The foundation is the village's very own charity and has no part of the village's governing bodies. Foundation is a not-for-profit organization, which is a 501c3, registered here in the state of California. And unlike the GRF, the foundation receives no funds from homeowner assessments, and its sole source of funding is from voluntary donations. The foundation was formed 22 years ago, and its mission is to provide support services to the residents of Laguna Woods Village who are in need. It's dedicated to helping residents maintain their quality of life by providing temporary emergency assistance. The foundation's mission is summed up by its motto, which is neighbors helping neighbors. Recently, the foundation expanded how we implement this motto to address a very significant health issue, which impacts all of us here in the village, which is falls. The facts show us that 1 in 2 ambulance calls to Memorial Care Saddleback Medical Center involving village residents during the past 5 months were the result of a fall. Falls are the key cause of fatal injury and most common cause of hospital admission for senior citizens. As a result, while continuing to provide temporary financial assistance to needy residents, we are now funding a fall prevention project to help all residents, not based on the financial need. And this was noted in the email feed that comes in on Fridays. The foundation will be partnering with the Social Services Department and Memorial Care Saddleback Medical Center to implement the program in the village beginning in August. The pilot project, which will include 4-class series, which is comprised of 8 progressive classes, which focus on different aspects of fall prevention, things like sit-to-stand instruction, dynamic standing exercises, and fall recovery. So, for information about this new program, please contact Social Services at 949-597-4267 or the Foundation, which is 949-268-2246, or, of course, the Foundation at comline.com. I made it.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, our next speaker is Philip Grossman.
Good morning, Philip.
Good morning. Phil Grossman, 887B. I'm here to talk about changing one of the regulations associated with rentals of the Performing Arts Center auditorium. On August 2nd, I wrote to Juanita Skillman in her capacity as head of the United Mutual. This was as a result of an article in Google News under local news. They quoted an article from the OC Weekly, which I never heard of before, called Anti-Muslim Author Packed Laguna Woods Performing Arts Center. The article was written by Gabriel San Roman. I object to our property being rented out to any person or organization spewing hatred based upon religious bigotry. This event took place on July 18, 2019. The speaker was Bridget Gabriel, an author well known for her attitude against Muslims. According to Mr. San Roman, and I quote, "The coffin-dodging crowd assembled at the Laguna Woods Performing Arts Center. What a derogatory way to refer to our community." According to Mrs. Skillman, we are not allowed to question who will be appearing or if there is a purpose to the event. If the community were made aware of the event in question 2 weeks before the gathering, there would have been placard-carrying objectives outside the Performing Arts Center. Maybe the next event will be a neo-Nazi event, or the Ku Klux Klan, or Black Lives Matter, or white supremacy. If we are prevented from learning this in advance, I suggest we remove this barrier. If we can't remove the barrier, then eliminate the rentals to owners within the Laguna Woods unless they're willing to provide information which might cause defamation, ridicule, and even violence to Laguna Woods Village. Thank you for considering this matter.
Thank you, Philip.
Okay, our next speaker is Cheryl Finnick.
Welcome, Cheryl.
2350 Charlie. Well, I want to tell you about an event that happened the other night. So it was Sunday morning early, about 3:30 in the morning, and I live in a one-story unit that looks onto my patio, enclosed patio. And I was up because my sleeping habits are terrible, and I hear a noise. And I look out my window, and there's a guy in my patio, half naked. Never saw him before. So he's shirtless, he's got plastic bags, he's shaved, and he's in my patio. And the first thing, of course, I'm looking for my cell phone, and I'm trying to find it, but I also remember reading somewhere, just make a lot of noise. So I'm screaming, get out of, constantly screaming, get out of my patio, get out, and he was like, what? And I'm constantly screaming, and then he goes to the front door, which blocks my view because there's a little alcove, and I'm going, oh, damn, now he's at my front door. So I'm still screaming. I got 911, and I called, and I guess my screaming, thank God he was passive, he left. So good, no harm done. So the sheriffs came out, our security guys came out, and I was describing him, and I said, go find him, he's around here, I'm sure. And sure enough, within 5 or 10 minutes, I think one of our guards found him. He was around the area. So I'm looking out, and I'm seeing that he was handcuffed and, trying to find out, and they were questioning, how'd you get in? He said, I had a pass. So this is not the stranger from outside, it's the stranger from within. And I found out also by questioning and doing a lot of talking that he came in legally and at about 12:30 a.m. So this means he was wandering our community for 2 hours. And let me just stop right now. This is not anything negative about any of our departments here. This is a story that I'm sharing with you, and I'll get to the point of why I'm sharing with you in a second. And so they took him away in handcuffs. And I found out later that what I really knew had happened, he just got out of some facility and he was off his meds. But he was passive, thank God, he wasn't aggressive. So what happened, he was returned to his parents. The sheriff never wrote a report. He wasn't taken in, and he's back here living. Now, to the other thing I need, so this, why am I talking to you? There's 3 points to it. The first one is it's a pet peeve of mine forever. And you'll all remember that the passes that we used to have were color-coded for phases. So if one came in one phase, it couldn't go somewhere else, and there's somewhat of restriction to it. Well, these new passes, our guests can go anywhere they want to go in. So if this dude is still here, he can be visiting any one of you at any time while he's still here, because those passes can be used anywhere. There's no restriction. As a side, I do want to also say that I do very well believe in the strength of our new security system, because I know they're deterring people from coming in and speaking to some of my friends and stuff. So the second thing is that I was reading in the Village Breeze, which, by the way, is a fabulous communication piece. Thank you for putting it out. And the Third Mutual, I think, said that residents can have their children with permanent disability, whether mental or physical. I raised a son who was quite ill as a child. So my heart goes out to the parents of children with any disease processes going on. But then I have to move on the side and say, I'm also a resident, and I do deserve to have safety and not be a victim in that same environment where the adult children are allowed to live that have the either drug or mental health issues. I know very well this is not an easy answer. There's no easy solution. But I wanted to point out the situation that occurred. I know our security, our compliance are working very, very hard to do the best job that they can. So I don't know enough about anything. I just think that in a situation like this, so you get a report is written, our internal people, I'm sure, wrote a report. So what happened? So the dude is living here. He's obviously got issues. So this is the first event perhaps with him. At what point do you say, okay, now it's 2 and 3 events, maybe this is not a best fit for everybody? I don't know the answer. It's an awareness I'm bringing up to you. And the third point is that Mr. Moy has told all of us in many ways to lock our doors. Mea culpa, I did not lock my patio door. If I locked my patio door, no doubt the fellow wouldn't have gotten in. So for anyone watching here, lock your cars, lock your doors. It's a safe place. I am not fearful of anything after that event. But I think that we all need to really make sure that our cars and doors are locked. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay. Our next speaker is Joe Fitzcomb.
Good morning.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. Joe Fitzchem, 405D. Recently, I put an article in the paper, and I kind of mentioned the idea, the concept, as GRF is considering things, to research them a little bit with clubs or organizations that they may affect in advance. I think there's usually a benefit to that. And I experienced that a little bit, with the paddle and pickle situation. Had we all been in the same room at the same time discussing the same things, it would probably been easier for everybody. As it turned out real well. But anyway, I think that's an important thing to do, because these are people's retirement. As we all know, we're all retired. But all these little things we do and activities we have, whether it be a small one or big one, are important to us. So when things leak out or get out, either though it may be only bouncing things off the wall, it's really, really important that we talk to them first. I'll give an example, like something that came to my attention was a quote, hopefully it's accurate. I don't know that we need 27 holes of golf. If you look at our neighbor golf course up the hill, it used to be 27 holes, and they built it, and it became a revenue source, and it's now 18. That would be a revenue source for you, speaking to the board. And again, it's probably brainstorming and just a regular suggestion out there, but that gets back to members of the community, and that's serious. That should be something up front. If there's things you need to do, that's your decision. All we can do is, I'm one vote, But I think it's just so helpful if you know what's going on. I think I wrote my article. I made the comment that I went to the Johnson Space Center, just the hat. That didn't make me an astronaut. I think it's important to talk to the people who actually do what sport or what activity or whatever it is, very importantly, because this is something that's out there now at this point in time. I think will continue to grow. I think it's best that you address that in terms, is it a consideration? Is it something bounced off the wall for God, or is it something we actually need to do? But research, I did that with the thing I dealt with you guys with. I had 7 states or 1,000 emails with people before I even bothered to give you what information and things I put together. So I think the same thing as the board or the VMS, if you do something like that and you're looking at changing something, deal with the people involved with it so you get the best information possible. They're not surprised. And if you're running through a minefield with snowshoes on, you'll catch it on real quick. But anyway, that was my suggestions. I hope that'll help. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, our next speaker is Elizabeth Romano.
Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you for your time. I wanted to follow up with the issue involving the closure of the drop-in lounge. Just a little bit about me. I'm a mandated abuse reporter. I have been for 20-some years. And the reason that I got involved with this is, the reason I got involved in the United Nations is because of my stepping out and stopping the abuse of mentally ill children. And those children were beaten with fists, they were slapped, they were raped, they were not taught to read. I couldn't go ahead and have my income off of that.
Excuse me, Elizabeth.
Yes. Okay, so
Members come up and talk about something that's within our jurisdiction.
Okay,
And the
within the-
United Nations is not within the
no,
jurisdiction
I'm telling you a
of
little
this
bit about
board.
where I
Thank
come
you.
from.
Thank you.
okay?
Please stick to the
Okay,
topic.
so here's what I have with
Time, Cheryl.
the information is that 3 people in the community this last week have told me that their neighbors have committed suicide. And the Globe runs article after article about the impact of isolation on people. You know, the impact, that was a primary social support system for me too. There's an impact from it. You know, I'm a totally disabled person, and I have needed to go see a doctor and go have my medication increased. I would like for you to think about this because it is elder abuse. Brian is going to be taken to court for elder abuse because it is a civil rights issue and let's see.
Elizabeth,
Yes,
do you
okay.
recall, I said, if you're going to make such terrible accusations about members of our staff or on the board, you need to come with data in fact. And there is nothing to say that there's elder abuse or anyone looking into elder abuse. This is your opinion.
Okay, well, we'll take it as my opinion. I've talked to 3 of the residents who have told me about 12 of the neighbors who have died, okay, who have committed suicide. I want you to hear this, okay? We are isolated and we wither, which is said in the paper, and I really hope you consider this. And I'm just going to leave it at that because, you know, there would only be one of you left after the loss of these community members. One was a mother and daughter, one was a husband and wife. The reason I know this is because I talked to their neighbors. So I'm going to leave that with you, that this is unacceptable to me, okay? And I think we need more support for our people that were attending the drop-in lounge. Second issue I'm going to bring up is I'm just going to ask for the community members to please, when they use the pools, go to the bathroom before you go in the pool. 2 of my friends, one ended up in the ER and intensive care. Another one is having another surgery now for MRSA they're trying to cut out of her hand. So I hope we can
15 seconds.
establish some policies. This is some of the water, okay? You can see it, okay? I'm going to ask the people with diapers, you know, to please use the toilet before they come in for all of our health. That's it.
Okay, our next speaker is Bill Walsh.
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, yeah, and directors. You need my manner number, or do you have it up? Is that going to be good enough?
That's good.
That's good enough, okay. I'm here to talk about one of my favorite subjects. For the last 8 years, when I come to this board, I always talk about the energy management system, okay? I'm here this morning as a result of a discussion that occurred at the Village Energy Task Force on July 1st. And it was a discussion about demand charges, okay? They are driving GRF's electric bills way up, okay? They are part of the rate schedule that the California Public Utilities Commission has allowed Southern California Edison to levy on users of electricity in their service area, okay? The demand charges are not going to go away, okay? But we need to do something in this community, GRF, to reduce the demand charges. Now that's a big mouthful because those demand charges can occur anytime 7 by 24. SCE has algorithms that they use, and it's going to be very difficult to manage them by hand, okay? Now, as a programmer for 30 years, my first reaction when I got this information was, is there something programmatically that we can do about the demand charges using the energy management system, okay? I don't know, okay? I think it would behoove this board to find out. Now, I've talked to Chuck Holland a little bit about that. I know Chuck, I'm not sure that the computing folks have enough people or time to go research this. But it's something that you need to, as far as I'm concerned, you need to really go about and research, even to find out if there might be outside vendors that can manage like that, okay? I know right now the Towers has an energy management systems that's being managed by someone at least 8 hours a day. I don't know if it's 24, 7 to 24. But the issue about the energy management system, the word management is really key here. Right now, you have people monitoring it in the different clubhouses that basically can change, kind of change the temperature in a room during a meeting in a clubhouse. But to actually manage the use of energy is a
20
much bigger
seconds, Bill.
project. Right, how much time do I have?
20.
18 seconds? Basically, that's my message, okay? And I would hope that the board carries forward with this discussion. And thank you very much for your time, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Clara Ellie.
Good morning, Clara. Good morning. It's Corky, isn't it?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here for a different reason as usual. I am really appalled at what has happened to our community. For the past 20 years, we haven't even gotten an operational budget. For the past 20 years, the homeowners in here have never had any rights. Nobody votes for anything. The case is this last thing that really bothers me is Village Management Service, Inc., owned by United Mutual, Third Mutual, and GRF. This is false. You know that all 4 corporations are in here, and all 4 are owners in here. And this, making this village, when you had a corporation, made a corporation, without the vote of the homeowners, what's the matter with you people? Don't you read the governing documents? You haven't got that right. The GRF board is only the trustee of the trust. And the trustors, the beneficiaries of the trust, are the homeowners. They should vote on this. This is ridiculous. This one man filed this, O'Connor, Christopher P. O'Connell. And then he turned all the money and the bank and everything else over to none other than Mr. Hudson. The bank account resolved in the corporation is hereby authorized to open and maintain bank accounts in the name at one or more banks of their choice. And he can write a bank account. He goes ahead and spends our money without our vote. Don't you read your CC&Rs, or haven't you read the trust? Because the trust isn't worth a damn anymore. Don't you understand that we're in the hole, money-wise? Did you get your business plan? I know all of you did, and you looked at it because you
Seconds,
signed it
Clara.
off. But now, who is running the place but BMS Incorporated? Not you people or anybody else. And the
Thank
thing
you,
that
Clara.
gets me is El Toro Water District has taken over our property, which is against the law.
Thank you, Clara. Thank you, time's up.
I'm going to hand you these papers. published in 9. And the first thing in there is your CCNR, the 88. And everybody has them.
Thank you, Clara. Who's next,
Oh,
Cheryl?
and there is one thing off the record. You can't hear you people. You read these things and nobody can.
Damn.
Our next speaker is Shirley Garrison.
Welcome, Shirley.
Shirley Garrison, 465B. I came to address the board to request handicapped toilets in the pool areas, in all of the pools. I had a resident tell me that they use the shower instead of the toilet because they cannot get off the toilet. There are no bars. There's no handicapped accessible. I don't know about every pool area, but that was Clubhouse 1. So please consider putting handicapped toilets in the pool areas, please. And the other thing I want to say, this is my first time at your board meeting, and I'm very impressed with what you're trying to do and the openness that you're showing, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you so much.
Okay, our last speaker is Maxine McIntosh.
Good morning, Maxine.
Good morning, one and all. You know, 3 times this past week, people came up to me that listened to our board meetings, watched them on TV. I haven't seen them at meetings, and said they objected to what they called a secret meeting. Yeah, I know, between a couple of people from each board each month. And you know, I just have an idea that might help erase that connotation. And that is if you took turns taking notes and publicize the notes. You know, where do you share them? Each president, Beth was kind enough today to share one of the things they discussed in the meeting. Presidents often will share 1 or 2 items they discuss in a meeting, but there's no official report. And if they're being taken back to a closed session board meeting, that's not legal. Because, of course, in the president's meeting, they're not discussing anything that would come under the necessity of a closed session meeting. They can't do that. One board cannot be privy to closed session information from another board unless the board votes to allow that board. A couple times in the past, we have taken votes to allow another board to have some legal information, for instance, that we were discussing in a closed session. But unless the board votes for that, the presidents can't share any of that. So I wouldn't think it'd be a problem. Take turns taking notes and just share your notes. Publicize them somehow. I think that would stop the idea of calling it a secret meeting. Jeff reported that how successful the finance meeting was this week and such a low increase in assessments. I didn't hear the amount of the pennies. I know it was $2 and something, like $2.07?
77.
70 cents. Okay, thank you. When the board voted to stop charging for guests at the swimming pools and at the fitness centers, I've heard a lot of rumbles about that. One of you kindly pointed out it would only cost each member of the community pennies a month. Well, you see how pennies add up. You're at 77 cents with 23 more cents, then you're at $1. Pennies make dollars. And that's why all those things need to be watched. And I would hope you would ask staff to take a look at how to handle collecting that money. That would not be a problem. I understand many years ago, before I came here, the lifeguards had punch cards, and people who wanted to bring guests to the pools bought a punch card here in the community center. And all the lifeguard had to do when somebody came up was just punch on their card. He didn't have to stop and write down a name, make change, or anything like that. And that was an idea that, if you turned it over to staff and asked them to dig back a bit, you might find some really good ideas to reinstate that. It would really be very helpful. Have a good month anyhow. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxine.
No other speakers.
No one else. Okay.
That's it.
Board members respond to our member comments. I'm going to start over there with Dawn. Do you have any?
Yeah, the one concern, let me get this on, the one concern, and I see our chief is here, maybe he could respond to that one lady's comment. It's new to me, I haven't heard that before.
What? Explain what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm trying to find her name.
Cheryl Finnick, maybe?
Or Dr. Ramona?
Cheryl Finnick?
Oh,
With
okay.
with a man on a patio, that's the first I've heard of it. We have a pretty safe environment around here, that really surprises me. I haven't heard about that. Anything happening?
Right. Good morning, Madam President, board members. I am familiar with that incident. This large community, we've got about 18,000 residents, as you know.
Chief, would you get toward the microphone more, please?
I know. It's that height
I know
thing,
you're
isn't
tall.
it? There we go. How's that? All right. I am familiar with that incident. And with a large community such as this, with roughly 18,000 residents, at times we deal with members of the family who may have some medical or mental health issues. In this case, this young man did have authorization to be in here. He was called in by a member. It is a son of a resident who lives in the nearby area, so he did have authorization. I appreciate what Cheryl Finnick had to say in reference to being safe in the community and making sure you lock your doors. This is a very safe community, and security is doing its best. But there are times when someone is allowed in here that may be dealing with some personal issues, and we then get called in, and the sheriff does get called in as well, and we do our best to keep our residents safe. So we're aware of it, and we will continue to work with the sheriff and our own social services department on that. But ultimately, our goal is to respond quickly and do what we can to provide a safe environment for our residents.
Well, thank you, Chief. I'm sorry I put you on the spot on there, but I knew you would be on top of it.
Right. No, I know Ms. Finnick as well, and I appreciate her coming forward with this as well to just make our residents aware that hey, we're gated here. It's a very safe community. Still, not all those that enter our community are law-abiding.
Yes. Thank you very much. That's all comments I had on that.
If I might add, the chief has done a phenomenal job. A lot of the people that come in here, excuse me, may be forcing their parents, grandparents to have them come in. The chief had gone into this matter and has cleared away a lot of people who are illegal and should never be in here, and that has been stopped. He has done a phenomenal job on that, which relates to what that lady was talking about as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. That's all I have.
Thank you. Dick?
Yeah, I'd like to address something that Bill Walsh was talking about, and that's the demand charges. I already talked to staff, and they said they do have the capability of doing something, but when I talked to Finance Committee, there's one guy in charge of Edison's charges and stuff. It's just a moving target. Whatever they do, there's no way you can follow them. But that doesn't mean we can't lower some of the demand charges. But there's no way of eliminating them or even drastically removing it, because they just keep moving the target of the demand charge all the time. So unless you have an in with Edison, which nobody has, that's the only way you can predict what they're going to do. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Dick. Bert?
Well, since my reputation has been energy. First of all, I would like to thank Bill for all that he have done for this community. We would not have solar on the roofs of buildings if it had not been the work that Bill put in. Bill, for several years, after he had read the IDS report, kept on pushing his community to do something about EMS, and it finally was done, and then he realized that it was not done properly, and ultimately staff brought in Chuck Holland, and Chuck did a wonderful job in putting in the equipment properly that was needed for energy management. But as he points out, we are missing a link, and the link we are missing in the energy management system is a link that controls demand. I have, in the last month and a half, done some studies in this area. In 2 buildings of GRF, small buildings, demand charges accounted for 33 to 36% of the overall cost of the electricity for those buildings. You got to understand that demand charges give us nothing. It's an overhead. The power company justifies demand charges on the basis that they have to have additional capacity to deal with any increase that you suddenly provide on the network or on the grid. And so that's a demand, okay? So they have to have that running. They can't charge it. It's not metered. So what they do essentially is they measure the use of electricity every 15 minutes on your meter. And they take an average, they actually integrate over 15 minutes, the amount of energy used. And then in the month period, the overall month period, they take the peak demand charge or the demand usage, and they use that for determining the demand charge for the entire month. And the demand charges on a per kilowatt basis can run anywhere from $17 to maybe $32 per kilowatt. This is significant. It's a significant charge. So I thank Bill, and I understand that staff is looking into it. I myself have been looking into it, and I've informed staff that I've just attended a meeting of a company, brand new company, that has developed an artificial intelligence product to deal with this issue that would integrate or interconnect with an energy management system, okay, to essentially cut your costs of the demand charge, effective of your overall electric charges, by anywhere from 20 to 30%. And that is a significant number. I did that for this building, by the way, 1 month last August. And that savings in demand, if we could cut that demand down, would have amounted to $25,000 for that month. So you can imagine what it would be for this building for the year and for the entire bill that we have for the year. I've talked to this company, and they have said that they are willing to come in and do a study and give us a price on what it would take to put this product into our facility. So something is happening, Bill, and hopefully it'll happen shortly.
I know I can't talk again, but.
Wait, does that mean but you will talk?
No, Bert, did they say they could integrate it into our energy?
Yes, they believe so.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill and Bert. Joan?
Yeah. I'd just like to say something to Philip Grossman. Philip, couldn't agree more. It's difficult for us to monitor what public sources come to our village. And I'm not sure of the answer, but I think that it deserves more investigation, because having groups come that incite possible inciting of our villagers is not appropriate. At the same time, we have an obligation to freedom of speech. So I will check into it more personally.
Thanks, Joan. Annette?
Hi, this is concerning Philip Grossman. Basically, there is the First Amendment, and we have to, adhere to that. As far as what you're requesting about knowing who's going to speak at these events when they've rented rooms, I really can't address that at all as far as if you'd like to be informed on that. I don't know how you would do that. I think that I think certain things are online. I think things are posted, but it baffles me. But we do have Jennifer here in the back that maybe if she wants to discuss, but people are allowed to if they pay the exception rate. So maybe Jennifer can come up and kind of explain that a little bit here on the village. Thank you.
Good morning, Jennifer.
Morning, thank you. That particular event was booked by a club, a recreation club, and they did pay the exception rate. So our policy states that a resident or a club may book on behalf of an outside organization at the exception rate, and it was presented to us as if this was a tour, a book tour, which is what I believe it was.
It was a book tour.
Book tour.
It was an author.
And she's an author, and there were multiple dates online, and we were a stop on her tour.
All right. Thank you.
All right, did you have more? That's it?
That's it.
Thank you. Jim?
Just like to thank Bill for coming. Nice seeing you, Bill, and thank you for your input. Keep coming to our meetings, energy meetings.
Diane, wait a second, Diane, we had Annette skipped one here.
Okay, I forgot. I apologize. And that's concerning the drop-in lounge. The drop-in lounge is continuously being monitored, and the complaints are minimal. It's very high usage. I keep stopping by there all the time to look at things, check on complaints and all those other things. We are looking at perhaps revising, I shouldn't say we, Brian is looking at, and his team are looking at perhaps revising the television for different stations to be offered, but it's constantly being monitored on the drop-in lounge. Thank you, everyone.
Diane?
To add to that, there may have been a comment that it was closed, but it is not closed. It hasn't been closed. I was going to say to Joe Fitzcam, the 27 holes down to 18, that was an idea that came up. So, again, it's just an idea. And regarding what Bill had to say, part of me wants to say that listening to you guys talk about energy reminds me, or makes me realize how other people must think or feel when I talk about numbers, but because it's just complicated. But I will say that to Jim, I think you're going to be learning a lot about electricity and demand charges. And to Corky, I would say just quickly that the towers has no ownership in VMS. Brad no longer works here, and when he did work here, he did not have access, he could not write a check. We have policies that govern how checks are written and who has to sign off. And let's see, Shirley. Oh, and the Maxine, I just wanted to be totally transparent to say that, to make sure that everyone is aware, if they want to be aware, that the four treasurers, United Third, the towers, and as well as myself and GRF, that we meet, I think, in maybe every other month. Sometimes it's probably just fair to say that we help explain to each other what's going on. So, but yeah, so that, because people are talking about meetings, again, we don't think there's anything wrong with the meeting, but, or illegal about having a meeting, but we do meet on occasion. That's it.
Thanks, Diane. Ray?
Yeah, I'd like to say again, since Chief Moy has taken over the situation, he's ears open all the time. He's very attentive to what you have to say. He looks into these matters, and he's right on top of everything. He has done a phenomenal job on it. I'm not just, say, bragging about him, but he has done a great job, and it needs to be brought forth. These issues that come up, he knows about these things, but he can't call 18,000 people in here and tell them what the results was. But he is quite apprised of what is going on, and he lets us know what's happening as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Judith?
Okay. If Mr. Grossman is still here, I'd like to apologize truly for any hateful remarks that you or any other resident suffered at any of our GRF facilities. we truly apologize. Yes, we have procedures in place, and that's something we don't have a lot of control of, but I'd like to be the only person here that's apologizing. The next is pools. Yes, I'm very aware. Clubhouse 1, the pool is frequently closed there because of human fluids and particles in the pool. A lot of it's accidents, but we don't know how to keep that from happening because the only thing I can think of is maybe when we know who it is, we're able to find them, even though it's an accident, that maybe their caregivers can be a little more conscientious about that issue. But that is a frequent problem that for Clubhouse 1 especially, I'm not sure about the other pools, probably happens there as well. So that's unfortunate. And Bill Walsh, that I just want to add that construction company that Bert was talking about, that analysis, he's offering it to us for free. And VMS has turned that down, but if it's free, I don't understand why we're turning free advice down. It's not going to cost us anything. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat?
Yes, to Mr. Gross, I'd like to say I agree with Annette. This is a First Amendment right, and even if we don't like what we're hearing, we have the right to hear it, just as we have the right to dispel it and say, no, I don't agree with that. That was a very popular event. There was 700 people there altogether. So I don't think we should be not having things like that. We have every right to hear the right and hear the left. And I'm sure we're going to hear a lot from the left soon, too. And as far as Corky is concerned, I am concerned about any possibility that someone might have the rights to be signing any of our money away. And I would ask Jeff if he would please take a look at that and see what she's talking about. And hopefully she's not correct. Thank you.
Pat, what are you talking about with the checks? What, can you explain
I'm
further?
sorry. The only thing I could say was that Corky had said that Brad Hudson was signing things that he isn't entitled to sign. That's what I got from her. I could be wrong.
Okay, Diane already addressed that it's not a possibility. Diane, did you want to talk further on that or no?
Please. If Diane thinks
Yeah.
it's no possibility, thank you, Diane.
How about if I just come back with some other additional information? How's that? But yeah, that's not a problem.
I believe you.
Okay.
You're happy
Yeah,
with
because
it.
it's not. Jeff, do you have signature authority over our checking account?
No.
Okay, great. That's what I wanted to hear.
I should say over any of our bank accounts, not if you think it's just checking. Okay.
I forgot something.
Judith?
Okay, just, can someone address Corky about who owns VMS? Either allow Reina to speak or staff about who owns VMS.
Diane
you
did
say
that also.
Okay, I missed that.
So Diane, go ahead again.
It's just that it is not owned by the towers because, yeah, it's just owned by United Third and GRF.
At their choice.
Yeah, they're managed by somebody else.
Perhaps Griner should talk to Corky. Should I mention that? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, perhaps Bryna should talk to Corky after the meeting a little bit to explain to her that at your election, you are managed by someone else. Thank you.
Okay, Siobhan? Jeff? I wanted to just say one thing to Elizabeth Romano concerning the isolation of older people, and we know that that is a concern across the nation and probably around the world. And one of the things that we have going in a positive manner in this community is the Friendly Visitor Program. And it's open to all of us through social services. And we would love to have you go to social services and ask to have a friendly visitor visit you if you're feeling isolated. And we do know that it is a really not a unique problem in senior communities. So that's something that we need to think about, and we do have a resource for that available. So thank you. That ends the responses, and now we are on the consent calendar.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Pardon
Do I have
me.
a second? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the consent calendar, please raise your hand. All right. Thank you so much. Moving down to unfinished business. Entertain a motion to adopt a collection policy for broadband services. July initial notification, 28-day notification for member review to comply with Civil Code 4360 has been satisfied. And Joan will read.
I'd like to read the main changes because it's huge. Is that all right?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. In the first, those of you who are in the audience have this in front of you. Resolution 90-19-XX, collection policy of broadband services. To the first paragraph has been added the words and/or equipment rental charges and inclusive of a late fee. I'll read that sentence. Whereas there has been presented to the board a proposal whereby the Broadband Division of Village Management Services, Inc., acting as managing agent on behalf of this corporation, would automatically, when members are delinquent in payment of their premium channel and/or equipment rental charges, send notices in compliance with FCC regulations, inclusive of a late fee, and take action to suspend such members' premium channel service. And further on in the same policy, they've added the price of the late fee and the fact that each month's delinquency is a charge of $10, and I'll read that section. Whereas the Board of Directors of this corporation has considered and discussed this procedure and has determined that it is in the best interests of this corporation and its members for its agent to automatically send notices, which notices shall comply with FCC regulations, inclusive of a $10 late fee subsequent to each 30 days of delinquency, to suspend premium channel service to members who have been delinquent for at least 60 days. It was originally 90 days. Now it is 60 days without the need for any further board approval. And the next paragraph is completely new. Whereas the Board of Directors of this corporation has considered and discussed this procedure and has determined that it is in the best interest of this corporation and its members for its agent to charge lessees an equipment rental deposit prior to issuance of equipment, an amount consistent with the then current fee schedule. So that's a deposit that will be charged. That's new. Now, therefore, be it resolved, August 6, 2019, that the agent acting through its broadband division effectuate a policy whereby for any members at least 60 days delinquent in payment of their premium channel charges, that notices sent out in compliance with FCC regulations should suspend premium channel service until such time as the members have paid any outstanding delinquent amounts. And finally, resolve further that the agent is hereby authorized and directed to take all such action, assess all such late fees, and send all such notices as they deem necessary or advisable for the purpose of effectuating this resolution. And the rest is I'll read, but it's just simply boilerplate. Resolve further that any actions taken to date by the agent pursuant to which they have previously delivered notices suspending premium channel service to members who are delinquent in their premium channel charges are hereby ratified and approved. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we accept this resolution.
I'll second it.
Second. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, discussion, right? Discussion. Anybody? Anybody out there want to speak on it, Cheryl? Okay, we're good, so now we can vote. All those in favor?
On the screen.
Oh, on the screen, okay.
You should be able to vote on your screens today.
Kurt doesn't have it.
You don't have it? Not a yes or a no?
Just
then?
give me your verbal vote and I'll record it.
Okay.
Director Mattson, are you having trouble with your screen? Are you yes?
doesn't work, so, yes.
Okay.
Passed unanimously.
Okay,
Say so.
okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next, we are on 12B. Entertain a motion to approve supplemental funding for tennis center building renovation. 12B, Joan.
Resolution 90-19-XX Tennis Center Building Renovation. Whereas as part of the 2019 GRF Capital Plan, the GRF Board appropriated $75,000 to renovate the interior of the tennis center building. Whereas staff met with Tennis Club President Suzanne Frank and Tennis Club member Ned Buckman to discuss a plan that includes both building interior and site landscape renovation options. Whereas subsequent to this meeting, Mr. Buckman provided staff with a conceptual sketch outlining the recommended site work, which included extending the site concrete toward the north side of the building. And whereas at the June 12, 2019 GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee meeting, the committee reviewed and voted to approve the original and optional scope of work as outlined in this report for the tennis center building renovation project and approved supplemental funding of $72,638 for a project total cost of $147,638. And whereas the tennis center building renovation project has a $75,000 allocation from the 2019 GRF capital plan, the current capital improvement allocation of $75,000 will not sufficiently fund all proposed scopes of work for both the interior and exterior renovations and requires a supplemental appropriation of $72,638 to fully fund the total project costs for this capital improvement project. And whereas at the July 23rd, 2019 GRF Community Activities Committee special meeting, the committee discussed the recommendation of the GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee and proposed $10,000 supplemental appropriation instead of the $72,638 to complete the interior of the tennis center building for renovation. Now therefore be it resolved, August 6, 2019, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby introduces approval of $10,000 supplemental appropriation instead of $72,638 to complete the interior of the tennis center building for the renovation. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution.
Do I
make a motion that we accept this resolution.
do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. All right, discussion. Dick?
Yeah, this thing is so out of touch with reality. They talked about replacing all the floors, and the tennis people did not want the floors touched, except to patch maybe some of the areas. I mean, the president said that she didn't want air conditioning, and they have air conditioning in here. And I think there's other systems that can be used. So the whole thing is just, it just doesn't make sense. I think we should pull back until they find out what they really want, so we can have a firm discussion. Right now, the whole thing is up in the air. Oh, here we go.
Yes, yeah, here we go.
Madam President?
Wait a second. No, I know comments, but the staff is able to clarify what he just said.
But I have more to add to that.
Oh, okay, all right. hold on a second, Ernesto, please. Go ahead, Bert.
I'm sort of, well, I am in agreement, I'm not gonna vote for this. Has anybody looked at tennis building bathroom?
Yes.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with the tile, absolutely nothing. We may not have low-flow toilets, we may have to replace those toilets. It's questionable whether we have to really overhaul those bathrooms. Changing the door to that bathroom area, that's a brand-new door, for us, I'm concerned. Beautiful door. It has glass in it, pattern-wise. They're gonna remove the soffit. I don't know whether that's the request of the tennis club or not, because right now, that's where they keep their trophies. So I'm assuming they're gonna take down their trophies. Where they're gonna put their trophies, I have no idea. What type of new solid surface countertops are we proposing? You know, the cost of the countertop can go from a low cost to a high cost, depending on whether you're talking about quartz, granite, marble, core soapstone. I mean, we don't know this. All we see from what we've seen here is we have no idea. Can the cabinets be resurfaced? I've talked to the tennis club people, rather than replacing them. Okay, that's might be a savings there. I didn't know when they said they're gonna replace the glass sliding doors, are they gonna replace them with double pane doors, single pane? I don't know.
No.
Removing the existing fans, it mentions the air conditioning.
Point of order.
You're not gonna do
Point
the
of
air
order.
conditioning.
You need to ask me what the.
Bert, we've got a point of order going here.
I think it's not our job to question right now what the staff has set and what's been approved by 2 other committees.
What are you buying?
Is the point of order in order or not?
I'm asking questions.
I'm asking the parliamentarian, and I guess that it is, because this project, and Bert is bringing up items that typically would have come before the M&C committee, and then they voted, they passed, they accepted staff's direction, and Finance Committee accepted staff's direction. It was CAC that did not accept the full price for the second. They gave the $10,000. So the motion we're talking to is this motion of the $10,000, not $72,000. But to go back to the discussion, which is really an M&C discussion, I understand that you have valid points that you want to make, but our parliamentarian says it's out of order, and I'm going to go with what she says.
Okay, I'm just stating that I am not gonna vote for this because there are too many unanswered questions.
Okay.
And when we spend this community's money, we need to know what we're getting for that money.
Okay.
Not to detail, but these are just simple questions that can be asked. And Dick was right with regard to the floor. I've talked to the tenant people with regard to the floor, and they said it's fine.
Come on.
Madam President, board members, good morning. I think that I may provide some light into this whole discussion before you engage in comments and decisions. If I could be allowed to just kind of give you a background of what this is all about. Just very quickly, the recreation staff requested an allocation of $75,000 back in 2018 for the 2019 budget to upgrade the interior of this facility. If you've been out there and you've seen the facility, it's aged. You know, it's a vintage facility, if you want to call it that. We came to the M&C committee with this item, and direction was given to not only do the interior part of the building, but actually to meet with the tennis club president and some other tennis club members to discuss what exactly they wanted us to do out there. I personally walked the entire facility, and I can tell you that it needs some TLC. Windows, flooring, everything is vintage there. The bathrooms are, you know, pretty close to your public restroom look. It's been there for a long time. The toilets are not low flow. There were concerns voiced by the president and one of the club members about the looks of this bathrooms. And so after direction was given from the M&C, to have staff meet with the club. We did that. We walked the facility in detail, and we came up with an expanded scope. The expanded scope was brought back to the MNC and essentially included all of the interior items that are described in your report. Also included the addition of HVAC system to the facility, and also included some exterior renovation with the landscaping areas. This is all preliminary. The intent from staff in going to the MNC was to receive direction relative to which scope of service to use to go out to bid. Unfortunately, this went to the Finance Committee, and then it went to another committee, and it got a little bit convoluted. We weren't really asking for approval of a supplemental appropriation. We were asking for direction relative to the scope so that we can put this out to bid and then bring it back with a possible supplemental request, which is typically the way we do it. But before we did that, and we went through all that process, we wanted to get the committee to weigh in on the scope of work. That scope of work was outlined in the report, which is also in your report, and we also estimated preliminarily some costs related to that scope of work. All of the details have not been defined on this. What type of counters, what type of door materials, whether it's dual pane, single pane. None of that has been defined. We put together a rough scope of work for the committee to weigh in and let us know whether they wanted us to move with that scope of work. Once we get that defined, then we can design it, put it out to bid, get bids, and compare those with the appropriation that we have right now that was adopted by the board, the $75,000. If you direct us to go with all three scopes, which is the interior, the HVAC, and the exterior landscaping work, we're looking at a possible appropriation. We're giving you some estimated costs for that, and we'll probably be around that area, but we won't have exact figures until we put this out to bid. So what we were looking for was just direction on the scope. So we can put it out to bid and bring it back to you with actual direction on the monies. So in your report, we've estimated, like I said, all the interior improvements at about $84,000. The HVAC at about $19,000, and the exterior landscaping renovations at about $43,000, $44,000, which is a total of about $148,000. Again, this is preliminary numbers, okay? As compared to the $75,000 that was adopted by the board, that's where we came up with what we needed, another $70,000+. So that's where we were at with this. At this point, whether we're going to select evaporative cooling HVAC system or your standard units, that hasn't been defined. At this point, we're looking for direction relative to the scope. You want us to do just the interior work? We can do that. You want us to do the interior work and the HVAC? We can do that. You want us to do all of it? We can do that as well. So if you could provide us direction relative to the scope of what you want to do, that's basically what we're looking for. When we went to committee, the committee, MNC committee, felt that all of it needed to be done. And that was from discussions that we had with the board president was there, with a club president was there, and what staff recommendations were. So that was the direction that we got, move forward with doing the entire scope. From there, we were going to design it, put it out to bid, and bring it back to MNC again with a supplemental request. And that subsequently goes to a finance committee, and then it comes to board. But this went a little bit sideways. So I just wanted to provide some clarity as to where we're at right now. We have preliminary scope, 3 pieces. We need direction as to where to go from there.
So just a minute to let me ask a clarifying question. So we have a resolution here, and we're looking at approving a supplemental appropriation. And so you're saying that's not what you're asking for.
Well, it was not the original intent to nail down monies, because we don't have final monies on this. We haven't gone out to bid. We have an estimated cost. So that's basically where we're at.
Okay, so before I call in Judith, I've got a question for Joan or Jeff. Where do we go with this? Or maybe Siobhan would know, where do we go with this now?
I think to the president and to the board, I think as Ernesto has described, the resolution that you have in front of you, which is the 10,000, my understanding is that when they looked at the budgetary equation, you have a description of the interior renovations plus the contingency is about $84,000 in total. That, with the original budget, is where the 10,000 additional funds came from. Taking that original budget and then looking at that approximate $84,000, that's where the additional 10 came out of the committee report that you have in front of you. So they're basically saying the option to go do the exterior work is not the recommendation of that committee.
Can I?
Unlike the other two committees.
The other committee, where the recommendation was to do the exterior. So in reality, I think you're looking at two options. Do you do the interior renovations? If that's the scope of work, then the resolution in front of you is just fine. If the board wants to do the interior and exterior, you give us that direction. We'll go back, as Ernesto said, and put together bids and specs for that. And once we have that information, then we would come back for an additional appropriation at that point in time.
Okay, so I understand that. So how do we proceed legally with this?
I think the first thing you have to discuss is the current resolution in front of you. Which
Can I
is
address the funding part?
Okay, I have to call in Judith before anybody else
yeah.
here. Her hand has been up forever.
Point of order, I should have spoke before any VMS person. Okay. Number one, there's several things wrong with this resolution. Correct. Our secretary just used the word, the committee approved. On page 1 of 12, it says, the staff report just written said, the committee voted to approve. And then here on the fourth whereas, on the resolution, twice it says, the committee approved. Our committees don't approve anything, they recommend. So my first suggestion is, before we even look at this, remove the word approve on the fourth whereas, the second sentence, to the committee reviewed and voted to recommend, and then on the last line, approved supplemental funding of 72. They recommended supplemental funding, and then they said for a project total cost of 147. So my third suggested change would be on the sixth whereas. At the end of that sentence, you put renovation for a project total cost of $82,638, like you have on the fourth whereas. Because this 10,000, like Ernesto's trying to explain, leaves this open, that we're going to give them 10,000 now, but that's not going to be the total cost. We're going to end up with 147,000, which is what several of us are against. And so this needs to be specified. If we're going to approve this 10,000, first I want to get rid of the comments that committee approved anything, because they didn't, and have staff stop putting it that way in the reports, and then add, after renovation on the sixth whereas, for a total cost of $82,638, or go over here, well, if we're just adding the 10, it's 82, but go back over to the report on page 3 of 12, where he's asking for $84,375.50. So either one of those, I would okay this, $84,375.50 or $82,638. It's not that much. But certainly we got to get rid of the word approved, because then this goes online and it tells the whole village that committees are approving things, and we're not. So those definitely have to be taken out of there. And then we need to clarify the sixth whereas with the total cost.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that, Judith.
Which I tried to do for anyone else, but
Yes, committees don't approve things, committees recommend to the board. And I've got 3 chairs of committees here that have been going back and forth on this. Diane and Jim and Annette, who wants to talk first to this?
I just wanted to make a comment about why we have the supplemental funding, is that from a finance perspective, we want the funding to be in place before you go out to bid. That's just like a policy, and so that's why, I understand that you don't care, that for you it's not important, but from a finance perspective, we just like the funding to be in place, and since you know it's gonna cost more than 75, maybe you thought it was gonna cost
Well, he doesn't
75 and
know
something
that.
comes in
He
at
has no
100,
idea that.
then, but if you know going in that it's gonna cost more, then we want that funding to be in place. That was just my only comment about that. I'll save my comments for the project later.
Okay, Jim, did you want to say something?
The M&C committee approved the 147,638.
and you can't do that.
And that is, at our last M&C meeting. And that is what we want.
You can't
And
approve.
this other committee arose to check us out. But our CEO did mention, there is a inside the building and then exterior. The 147,638 is the interior and the exterior, which MNC would like to see. And that is what we voted on and passed.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So we've heard from Finance and we've heard from M&C, and those 2 recommend accepting the 72,000 additional. And then, Judith was right, yeah.
She's right, so make sure we have that.
Right.
Right, Cheryl, we got what Judith said, right? That's what Joan's concerned about, okay? And so next, CAC dealt with this, and Annette.
And what we came up with, and I know that the resolution says interior, but we came up with the pot to say, let the pot be $84,375.60. Because in our hearing, the president, Suzanne Frank, she first of all really wanted the back patio. She wanted that in order to have a barbecue when they have these events and everything else. And I went over there and looked at it, and I really liked the pavers. I really understood some of the things they were doing, and I guess my biggest thing was the HVAC, the HVAC, because it's a totally open building, and tennis players come in and out of there all the time, and I was very concerned with how are you going to monitor when that's on, when it's off? I mean, and then some other people did come back to me and say, well, the building could be used at night, it could be, it could, in the wintertime, people could go there and get a little warmth, in the summertime, they could cool off. But I was still concerned overall on how to staff monitor the air conditioning. It is a small building, I was wondering why there wasn't more elaborate fans made other than the 2 fans from the 70s. Yes, the building is definitely dated. It totally reeks that it needs to be refreshed. But in terms of the flooring, that was one, and then the terms was the outside. So that was my question for the pot of 80,000, not just the inside, but maybe she should be able to get what she'd like for 80. Thank you.
Okay, I know that there's other hands up over here. Who was first, or should I just start with Don and go down? I don't know. Do you all know who's first? I'm starting with Don, then I'm going.
Okay, I'll start. That's an old building, and we have national events there a year, and we've heard from some of those people. We're trying to update our community. We spend a lot of money on pickleball court, we just finished that, and on lawn bowling and all of that, and now some people are kind of hesitant in fixing up the golf course area, the tennis building and the exterior. M&C spent a lot of time going over this in detail, and I still support the interior and the exterior. And this resolution in front of us kind of confuses me. For $10,000 won't support all of it. So I'm going to vote no on this, and hopefully we can come back with one that would support our complete project, unless I misunderstand this.
Diane wants to say something.
Well, I was just going to speak to that I would move to recommend that we, let's see. So I make a motion to amend the resolution. How's that? To read, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby authorizes a supplemental appropriation of $72,640 for the renovation of the tennis building for a total project cost of $147,640. So we could do the whole project.
Okay, so what you're doing is bringing it back to what Don's discussion was of the original. Joan?
Friendly.
I know, she's going to clarify this.
This is friendly to Diane. In order to do that amendment, I think you need to delete the final whereas, because that is speaking to the CAC
Yes, for sure.
amendment.
Sorry about
So
that.
you need to delete the final whereas, and then replace the final paragraph with what you just said.
Okay, thank you.
So,
we have to vote on these.
Taking it from where Don's position was and our treasurer making a motion to amend, we have a second on the amendment, right?
Can I talk, am I allowed to talk about the amendment?
So did somebody second it?
Yes, it was.
Don.
Don seconded it, okay. So now we can talk about the amendment. The amendment is going back to what the original was from M&C and Finance, the additional 72,000, da-da-da-da. Okay, so we're discussing it. And I need to go to these two guys who were next after Don. Yes.
Well, in order to air condition this building, I questioned if it is properly insulated. So that brings up a whole new cost vector. And I don't know, it's so frustrating, the way these things have been bouncing around. Everybody's talking about doing something else, and we need to settle down on what we really need. The floor is a big issue, and I keep hearing that they don't have to replace the floor, yet it's in the $75,000. So I would just recommend that we go back to M&C and finalize what they really want.
So Ernesto, I wrote down that this is a rough scope of work, and when you go in there and really take a look, would one of the things be the insulation that Dick talks about? If you're going to put in air conditioning, you're going to insulate. Is that a part of that task?
There's no intent to touch the envelope of the building. We're going to air condition it as is. That was the proposal.
Okay.
So
can't.
Okay, so the next person is Bert.
Staff came to this, not this board, but a prior board, with a proposal, $75,000 to renovate that building. And that prior board basically gave approval. Yeah, the money's allocated. GRF board appropriated $75,000.
It was part of our capital plan for 2019.
Okay, but it
So
was
we did-
appropriated, okay? Based upon preliminary ideas of what was wanted. Then suddenly, we have a $10,000 supplemental appropriation. I'm not sure for what. It's not described in here at all.
Contingency.
It is. I'm looking at this, there's nothing that tells me what that 10,000 for. you know, we don't even know what we're going to be doing. We're gonna go out and bid, we're gonna have to do a statement of work. What's gonna happen is that, I mean, I don't understand this. There are times when, after the statement of work and you get bids, if the bids, all bids exceed the allocation, at that point in time, staff can come back and request additional funding to cover the shortage. So I don't see the problem, just leave it as is. Secondly, the landscape renovation has absolutely nothing to do with the interior renovation. There's no reason why that should be all lumped together as a single motion, but should be treated as a separate condition and have them come back again. And you're not gonna go to the people that are gonna renovate the building and ask them to do the renovation of the exterior.
Absolutely, we're gonna have one contract.
One is landscaping.
You have one general contractor do the work. We don't have the
Excellent.
staff capacity to issue 3 different contracts. So,
Okay. All right.
Okay, and I'm going to ask Annette to, if you could keep track of whose hands are up first, to let me know, please. I knew those 3 gentlemen, and then I'm not sure who's next after
You told me I was.
them. Did I say you were? If I said Judith, she's on.
Okay, I'm not going to approve the amendment because there was nothing in there about changing the fourth whereas and removing the words voted to approve.
Oh, I thought we were going
No.
to. Sure.
So nobody, it's not part of the amendment, so thank you.
What?
You don't have to.
Our secretary says, Judith, did you hear her? She says we don't have to?
Then we can just take it out? We don't have to vote to take it out? I don't get it.
Joan will explain.
Judith, you're just making a correction from the
Correction?
word approve to recommend, correct?
Okay.
That's appropriate. It should have been that way in the first place. So that would be a Scrivener's, or a clarification.
I'll
So
go with
that's
Scrivener's.
not, and as far as the amount is concerned, it should be 85,000 because it's 10,000 more over the 75,000. So the total would be 85,000 in that.
Well, not anymore, not according to the amendment.
Correct. Right now, that's not there because that paragraph will be taken out in this amendment. Okay.
We're good, Judith?
I get it.
Okay. Who do you think's next?
As Ernesto said, if we approve what we've said today for the $10,000, they're going to go in and do the follow-up
the amendment.
information to see what is necessary and bring it back to us. We're going round and round and round. That's what the man said. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Point of order.
That's exactly
It's
what he
off
said.
topic.
Okay, so, folks, no, we're talking about the amendment right now to be voted on. Diane's amendment is that we discuss the original cost, go back to the 72,000 rather than the 10,000. Who's next, Annette?
Okay, basically, it was Ray, then it was Pat, and then Joan.
Okay, Pat.
I'm going to hold off for the time being.
Okay, Joan.
Okay.
I need to remind us that we're talking about money and not design. And it was that the appropriation, correct me if I'm wrong, Ernesto, it's the appropriation you're asking for in order to do these designs.
actually to do both, design
do-
and construct.
Design and construction, correct. And I would be in favor of doing the whole thing at once instead of trying to do it in pieces. So that's my comment. But it's the money we're talking about and not the design.
Okay, who's next?
Okay, basically Diane.
I speak in favor of this. I just wanted to say that the building was built in 1982, so that sounds like it's not that long ago, but that actually was 37 years ago. And so it makes sense to me that we're going to renovate and update the building. I think that, this is not, Ernesto will, and his crew will decide, his contractor will decide. If they can save the tile, they can save the tile. Sometimes you can't save the tile because of what it is you're doing. I think that if we've only do something to a building once in 37 years, I think new cabinets are in line, as opposed to just refacing them. I think we need, that we need to rely on staff to do what they think needs to be done to update the building. As to the air conditioning, we do have an employee that works there. I think it makes sense to me that it gets to work in a place that is air conditioned. The outside work, the patio, it makes sense to me that we do that. And I think there are pictures. Are we going to bring up pictures?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we have some pictures for those people who have not gone to the building. So if you want to see it.
So Cheryl is
They're coming.
we'll go back to our list of
Instead
speakers in a
of
minute.
killing trees and putting them in the actual resolution. So these.
Yeah, I believe,
Go ahead, you go
I
ahead.
believe these are pictures of the exterior, what is existing right now. There's 3 photos here for you to look at. So part of the concern that was expressed to staff when we went out there is that there is safety issues with these cobblestones. You know, people they gather in these areas and they're walking around, all of a sudden they're on cobblestones. They lose their balance. So that was part of the discussion that we had. Part of the scope is the removal of these cobblestones, provide more concrete area, gathering area, because they do have big gatherings there. And so it was to make it more comfortable and more in line with what the club needs. We did meet with one of the club members, who I believe is here today, to discuss the renovation of the exterior area. This gentleman happens to be a landscape designer. He's been in the business or has done work in landscaping, and he was kind enough to provide us a sketch of what the thought was to do. So on the basis of that, we came up with a preliminary cost.
Thank you. Who's next?
Is that the only picture we have?
I think the audience.
Yeah.
Well, no, we've got people on the
The audience.
dais. People on the dais first.
Pat, are you ready to go now?
Yes, I'll be quick about it. I'm really conflicted on this because I understand what Don says, I understand what Richard says, I understand what Bert says, and I agree with everybody and everything that they've said. But one thing I haven't heard anything about is why we didn't consider a modular building in the first place, because that would fix the problem as far as the air conditioning and the insulation and everything else is concerned. And it's really
Enlarge the building.
fairly reasonable to put a modular building in there. Thank you.
Oh, I thought you said enlarge. Okay, so Ernesto, do you want to respond to that question?
Not sure what the answer to that one is. You stumped me there. It was, the funding was put in place to upgrade the interior of the building only.
Right.
And that was the intent, the original intent, which is what we brought to the MNC.
Right.
The MNC wanted us to work into something more comprehensive, given that the facility is aged, and to get with the club and have those discussions. So we did that, and we brought back the ultimate scope that's before you today.
Thank you. Anyone else on the dais wish to speak?
Just could they, Diane, repeat the amendment? Because I think there's some confusion of what she's changing.
Maybe I should have Cheryl, since what she does is gonna, and so for one is we're taking out approve and becomes recommend.
Correct. So the amendment was, let me bring up my minutes. Hold on a second. To change in the 4th paragraph to take out the word voted and approved and replace that with review and recommended. And then the recommendation to amend the resolution would be to approve the $72,638 supplemental funding to complete the interior and exterior of the tennis building renovations.
Question.
Thank you,
One
Cheryl.
more.
And Dick was next.
It's not correct.
It's, oh, wait a second, Dick, wait a second. We're hearing this is not correct. Joan needs to clarify here.
Cheryl, did you get the elimination of the last whereas in the existing? It says, whereas at the July 23rd, 2019 GRF Community Activities Committee special meeting, that paragraph should be out in this amendment. No, no. It needs to be
Okay,
out.
all right. And it is now Richard Palmer's turn.
Thank you. I just heard somebody mention the building was built in 1982. Excuse me. The Energy Commission in Sacramento had no regulations for commercial buildings. So that tells me that this building is unqualified for air conditioning unless they do a total installation and the whole ball of wax. And that's the fact. So I know I was involved with the Energy Commission then, and I know what was going on, and commercial wasn't even considered.
That's something that staff will, I'm sure, be looking into. And the next person is Judith.
Okay, now I'll still be against this amendment because if we remove the sixth whereas, the now therefore be it resolved won't make any sense.
Yes, it does.
Because then it says, approval of the $10,000 supplemental appropriation instead of 72, where Diane said she wants, instead of the 72,638, the total would go back to 147,638. That won't make any sense at all.
Go ahead.
I'll try again. The now therefore be it resolved should read, Cheryl, help me out if this is wrong, August 6th, 2019, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby authorizes a supplemental appropriation of $72,640 for the renovation of the tennis building at a total project cost of $147,000. I'm sorry, $147,640.
I mean,
And
you
the
could be
rest of it is out.
638 instead of 640.
That makes
You got
sense?
this.
And the rest of it is out. So we have, I
You can
have
change the
Jeff
numbers.
nodding his head. I think I have Judith nodding her head. Diane nodding her head.
Members waiting to
And
comment.
And members are waiting to comment. Anybody else want to comment? We're, okay, we have clarity on this amendment. And now it is member comments. And Ernesto, I'm going to ask you to take a seat close to that podium, please. Who's up, Cheryl?
Okay, our first speaker is Joe Fitzcomb.
Hi, Joe.
Good morning again. I'm not representing tennis, but I do play tennis. Probably around 500 times since I moved here. Paddle tennis, probably about 500 times. Pickleball and lawn bowling, probably about 100 times each. Just from a practical standpoint, what's there, we're talking about the details of, and I understand the floor and that type of thing. Suzanne Frank's very reasonable. Whatever they need to do there, that is, as a cost savings, I think she'd be, actable to. I don't think that's a problem. When you look at the structure there, if you go inside, there's 2 tables and there's 8 chairs. There's also a bar and 2 stools, and there's 2 bathrooms that have a stool in each one. That's the total seating capacity. There are events that go on there, and I laughed because George from tennis, is one of the officers there, was at a paddle tennis event this Saturday, and I got thinking about 2 of the last 3 events we did at paddle tennis. We had more seating capacity than what tennis did. Now we're 107 members, they're 300 and some. So we talk about landscape, I think it's lost in this that there's events there, there's conference tournaments there nearly monthly, many events they do, people like to sit and watch what's going on. So the reality of it is, when they talk about landscape, I think they're talking about patio or deck or something where people can sit and watch when other people are playing. And that capacity there is lower than what paddle tennis capacity is, for example. And we fill ours at times. So that's something I think is a very useful aspect. I mean, the building, as far as we do this, we do that, that's up to you guys to understand, all of that's very difficult. And any savings we can have, I think that's also very good. But there is a capacity. I said the landscape to me is getting rid of the stones. We don't play on top of them. We hit tennis balls in there once in a while, and we walk on there, and that's extremely tricky. The other aspect is just the number of members there. I mean, there's really not much seating capacity. The indoor part of that is called the clubhouse, is really the air conditioning aspect. If it's possible, it's probably good. I overdid it one day and played 3 sets of singles tennis and 3 sets of paddle tennis, and I went home after drinking 2 liters of water while playing tennis, and I'd lost 11 pounds. So the idea of, I wish I kept it off, but that didn't happen. But anyway, there is a heat situation there at times. I think probably, if it's possible, that's probably a wise thing to do. And there is an employee there also, like you said. How much air conditioner runs? It can be put on a timer or something. I don't know. But there probably is a useful reason for that when with some type of weather we have here, the age of some of the people who live here, and the type of sport that is. And we do have still a 96-year-old singles player out here who plays in the afternoon, oddly enough. Most of us are younger, aren't strong enough to play at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But I just want you to look at that aspect. What do you want there? You want a usable clubhouse that's fixed up to the point whatever reasonable standard can be done efficiently, and create something outside where the club has the ability to have events and have members there that can actually use a facility. Whether it's, I mean, the national events are one big thing, and it's a prestigious thing. That's a small part of what goes on. There are events there all the time that goes on. So I laughed because George is the one thing I realized when he came to one of our paddle tennis things, because his wife plays paddle tennis, we had more capacity than he did. And so that was kind of an odd thing from my standpoint. So that's one part of this, whatever happens. I'd like to see something happen on the outside and be as efficient as you can on the inside. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, our next speaker is Maxine McIntosh.
Welcome, Maxine.
Thank you again. Before I say anything, I want to be sure I understand correctly now. The amendment would eliminate the 10 and leave it at the 72,000, right? Good, I understand. 10 points for me. All right. We need to remember that this building is the California Indoor-Outdoor Design. These lovely pictures that were presented here are the views you have from the walls of that tennis building. It's beautiful looking out. 3 sides are glass. So really, we really need to listen to Richard about what it would take to put in air conditioning. Just solid glass walls and sliding glass doors. And when I was there, I noticed the tennis people coming in and out, just 2 or 1 at a time. I had to be reminded quite a bit to close those sliding doors. They're big, they tend to leave them open. And then you have the fans coming down. I didn't know they were older than 1982. I thought they were newer ones because they really look attractive. And with the fans and those sliding doors open, you get a good breeze through there. It's one of the best air-conditioned buildings I've ever been in here in the village. I was excited at first. The way I read this resolution, I thought you were dropping it down to 10,000 for taking care of the Formica and the tile problem in 1 bathroom. And I hadn't read it the way it was presented, meant to be presented here. But I would hope you would stay with no more than 72,000. We have 7 clubhouses. 6 of them are older than this tennis building, considerably older. Only Clubhouse 7 is newer. And only one of those 6 clubhouses has had a renovation. So to jump the gun and go to this little clubhouse, and I don't know, what is the membership of the tennis club? Is it 80 people now?
No, it's over 300.
How many?
Over 300.
Oh, I talked to several tennis players who thought it was a lot less than that. Anyhow, obviously, we know that those Formica counters are bad, and they need taken care of. When they have their barbecues, they can do what other clubs do. They can use Clubhouse 7. The distance from the end of this room to that end is a round trip to Clubhouse 7 from the sliding door in the tennis room. If they get a bigger facility, more seating outside and all, then they don't have to pay to rent a room, but most clubs do. When they have a big to-do, then they rent one of the clubhouses. And the tennis club is so lucky to be so close to 7. They can have a facility there, activity there, and use that facility. Big patio area at Clubhouse 7. It's very nice, and bathrooms to
20
the rear
seconds,
as well as to the
Maxine.
front. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Juanita Skillman.
Good morning, Juanita.
Full disclosure, the $10,000 suggestion was mine. And this is why. In our 2019 approved budget, we have $75,000 for a scope of work for the interior of the tennis building. But the charges that they show us on page 3 of 12 and the listing of what the interior components were on 1 and 2 add up to $84,375. So my suggestion was a supplemental this year of $10,000 so they could do this work. Now, the other $64,000 for the optional items of the exterior and the HVAC system could be put in the 2020 budget if we wanted to continue that project through there. I mean, we're in August, September. This isn't going to be started until September or October. It really would dovetail fairly well. Sorry, Ernesto. I know he wants it all at once. But that's where the $10,000 came from. Supplement the 75 that we've already approved, not recommended, but approved, so that we can do it the way it's laid out by M&C right now, which would be $84,375 and $85,000 rounds it off just for if we have some more pennies. That's where the $10,000 came from, and that's still my recommendation.
Thank you, Juanita.
Okay, our next speaker is Mary Stone.
Good morning, Mary.
Mary Stone, 356C. I'll vote for Juanita. Thank you. I think that, that you should be doing the necessities and not think about renovating, upgrading, and all of that. Some of us live in manors that were built in 1964. Would you please do my manor like you're suggesting to upgrade the tennis court? I could use an HVAC.
Point of order,
point of order,
you know our money cannot be spent on your facility.
I am talking about where there are other needs in this community where you are trying to spend money on discretionary needs as opposed to the necessities that some of our individuals face. And I think it's important to keep your costs down wherever possible. If the cabinets don't need to be redone and just need to be painted, paint them. If the floors need certain corrections, correct it. However, handle the safety measures, do the necessities, but to say we have to upgrade it because it was built in 1982, give the members a break.
Cheryl, is there anyone else?
That concludes our speakers.
Can I make a comment?
All right. Yes, Diane, any other comments up here at the board?
I would just say that it totally confuses me as to why we would wait until 2020 to do the outside. That means Ernesto has to now administer a second contract because he can't go out to contract for both if he only has one, unless he waits to 2020. And if we put the money in 2020, that doesn't save us any money. So it's not like we're moving it out 100 years or 5 years or however, like you're just moving to the next year. I just think that makes it more complicated. We're down this road. We have 2 committees that approved, that recommended that's what we do as a whole project at one time, and just one committee that it was a little unclear exactly what they were doing. But that's my opinion.
All right, it's, okay, well, we can, yes, we'll definitely wait for Beth. And I'd like to speak on this, basically. I was over there again yesterday, and I've spent more time at that building probably than I'd like to. Originally, as I said, I was married to the floor, but then when I looked at the outside facilities and saw the cobblestones and everything else, and I seen a tennis player play with another person, walking just to watch them that had a walker, I thought how much better it would be if it was concrete or it was smooth for those people. I just didn't think that, I guess I'm trying to expand my horizons a little bit, but I really felt that I was the one that was married to the tile floor, not necessarily for the benefit of the club members. So there is a lot to think about here, because initially, even what Diane said about the HVAC factor, about that being for the employee that is now there. I mean, that woman does deserve, or man, whoever, the employee does deserve to sit in an air-conditioned place and as part of her job. She doesn't need to sit in a place that isn't. Thank you. And we're waiting for Beth to return. Oh, Ray, go ahead.
The person that's sitting there, are they in an office area? Or are they in the open space? That's what I want to know, because I have an air conditioning unit, round circle, and it goes like this. It does a heck of a good job. If we're in one room, no big problem whatsoever. That's why I asked.
May I? I was just going to say that one of the things about the air conditioning is that it's true that the doors are now open, but those are old, heavy doors. And so if you don't have air conditioning, you do have to keep your doors open and the fans on. But if you do have air conditioning and you have new doors, you have the ability to keep them closed. And
And the new doors, which won't be 37 years old, will definitely be able to keep the sun out and be HVAC and all the new things that come with technology. Okay, next will be Bert, then Joan.
Just want to point out that those doors and the windows are single pane glass. Okay, so you're not going to get much insulation. They're proposing, I believe, double pane glass. I'm not even sure of this, but I would have assumed that they're proposing double pane glass doors as a replacement for the single pane.
Yes, if we're going to be replacing the sliders, they'll be dual pane.
But you still have a lot of surface area of glass where it's only single pane.
Right. Joan?
The other thing is air conditioning can always be placed on a timer. It does not have to be run just because it's there.
Okay, then can I just say one thing? I think both Mary and Juanita hit a good point, that we want Ernesto to use discretion in choosing what to fix and what we don't have to fix. And if we only give him the 84, a 375, then he's forced to be discretionary. That's my thought, that's all.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, we're ready.
Which is for the whole 176.
Oh, we're waiting for Beth to vote on the amendment. Okay.
Yes, we're waiting for you.
All those in favor of the amendment? On screen? Oh, we're voting on screen. All those in favor of the amendment, press yes, and not in favor, press no.
Where's the other two? Two more.
Okay, Director, well, let me see. Director Soul, did you need? Okay. And then Director Mattson, what's your vote? Okay.
Okay, the amendment passes. And so now the parliamentarian is telling me we vote on what?
We have to vote on the whole thing as amended.
We vote on the whole proposition as amended. All those who vote for the whole project as amended. We have to do it on the screen, Cheryl, with a yes or a no.
Want to
Could
use
you
my
put a
pencil?
price tag on that,
Want to try
please?
my pencil?
Well, they don't have it.
Oh, it's not, oh, yeah, wait, mine's.
Okay, now,
Excuse me,
I don't know if it works.
can you put a price tag on what you just stated?
No, you're,
I think that we're voting.
147, 638.
147.
How much?
147.
147, I think that's what we're saying. Okay,
The supplement is 72, 640.
72, 638.
yes, thank you. 72,648, that's the
Addition.
amended piece.
Yeah. So just to clarify to the audience, the total cost will be 147,
Right,
638.
that was the total, right.
According to Ernesto.
The
That's
supplement
close.
is the F-72.
That's what you're voting on now?
No, that's what takes in the 75 you already had.
That's correct.
Right, yes. Okay, looks like it passes.
Director Soul?
Oh,
were
Director
you-
Soul has not
Were you
voted.
able to vote?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was just thinking.
Okay, it passes.
Okay, it passes, thank you so much.
You told me you were amending it to 70,
No?
taking away the 10.
You gave them what they wanted. You did take away this.
So you voted for the whole amount?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we all get to pay for that.
Yes.
How unreasonable. I'm really
Okay,
disappointed.
no comments at this point. Out of order. Out of order.
Okay. Moving along the agenda. And where we are is item 13, new business. Entertain a motion to introduce a resolution to revise the GRF Recreation Department policy on clubs, groups, and organizations. And the August is the initial notification. It must be postponed 28 days for member review and comment to comply with Civil Code 4360. And Joan, please read 13A.
Resolution 90-19-XX, GRF Recreation Department Policy Revision, Clubs, Groups, and Organizations. Whereas at the July Community Activities Committee meeting, staff recommended to approve staff recommendation to amend the GRF Recreation Department policy as it pertains to clubs, groups, and organizations. Whereas Laguna Woods Village has 286 registered clubs within the community, which are afforded a variety of privileges upon approval of the Recreation Department. Priority rollover reservations, flyer postings at clubhouses, free village website use, club page event calendar in the village news, and free Globe submissions, village television airtime, message board, and club storage, excluding Clubhouse 2. Whereas club bookings make up the majority of reservations each year, with 9,200 dates reserved versus 4,485 dates reserved by private parties in 2019. And whereas room availability is limited for private party reservations, members are turned away when inquiring about availability for memorials, birthdays, and anniversaries. And whereas at the May CAC meeting, an ad hoc review committee was formed to review and provide recommendations to the CAC at the July meeting. And whereas proposed amendments to the current policy are: limit club status to 250 clubs, groups, and organizations. Initiate annual clubs, groups, and organizations fee of $50 to maintain club status. Apply rollover processing fee calculated by dates to annual billing. Limit rollover dates to 104 per group, per club, group, or organization. Additional reservations are available through the standard lottery process. Club activities, programs, and events geared, and I'm going to add the word entirely, towards minors are prohibited. So please insert the word geared entirely towards minors, because this does not limit Grandfather's Day or any of those where you have minors' activities as part of the club activity. And whereas limiting club status and applying rollover restrictions will free up approximately 477 rental slots for private party use, and additionally implementing a processing fee will offset incurred administrative costs. And whereas anticipated annual revenue generated from proposed fees is $20,750, and now therefore be it resolved, August 6th, 2019, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby introduces approval of staff's recommendation to amend the GRF Recreation Department policy as it pertains to clubs, groups, and organizations. And further resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move we approve this resolution for discussion only and then postpone the final vote for 28 days per CC number 4360. That's civil code.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll make it the second, but I think we should vote on the word entirely, because I think that restricts staff much more. I mean, I would look at their recommendation, because staff did not ask for it to be entirely. I understand what you're saying, but the
Jennifer,
grandparents'
ask
day can still
Jennifer-
go
ask
on
Jennifer.
because it's a.
Yes,
But if
ask
there's somebody
Jennifer
that
to
has
clarify.
something and they just do one little thing, then they can say, oh, this isn't entirely. I thought it was maybe too restrictive.
Okay.
Hello, Madam Chair. This particular policy falls under clubs and organizations. So the word club implies that it's clubs, nothing to do with the Recreation Department. This is a club policy. When Recreation hosts Grandparents Sunday, it's a GRF event. So this policy is for clubs. It wouldn't affect Grandparents Sunday.
So you don't need it to say entirely in order to allow
if-
grandparents' day? Like, that doesn't help.
Can I
Got
speak
it.
to that?
I can tell you that there was a lot of confusion with that and what we were trying to get across. So if we need to change the wording, we can, is that there are some clubs that their entire purpose is for children. And that's what we're trying to
That's what
prohibit.
we don't want.
Right. And so Joan wants to speak to that.
So I said, club activities, programs, and events geared entirely towards minors are prohibited. If it's only for minors, if it's lessons for teenagers, for example, that is what we do not want.
What if it's lessons for teenagers, but they have a box of cookies in the back that adults can come eat?
No
Is that
way.
entirely?
No way.
Well, that's what I mean, that's, but.
The activity is lessons for teenagers, and that's not appropriate in the village. For insurance purposes, at least.
Do you agree, Diane? We have to really agree on this.
Please understand this.
So that we understand, and it's worded just so we really all get it. And
Do you want me to
every-
make it an amendment?
Everybody with it? No, you don't need to make it an amendment, I think, if we all agree that says it. We're accomplishing the purpose,
Clarity.
not having a club for children. Okay, so we have discussion.
Yeah.
Don?
You want to go from 286 clubs down to 250. That's, how do you eliminate 36 clubs?
Attrition.
Attrition.
So the attrition is with you.
Attrition?
They're
You
not
want to
gonna
talk
cut
to this? Come on up. Jennifer, this is, it is.
So the
attrition.
number for clubs is constantly changing, and as of today, we have only 280 clubs, so that can tell you how quickly some drop off. And we have 4 that are currently pending. With that number, we also have 50 clubs who have not complied with the March 31st date of submitting their roster and also their annual listing of agents. So of those 50 clubs, a mailing is going out with a September 16th deadline. If this is approved, we anticipate with that, as well as the $50, we will probably lose a portion of clubs who are not active. There are several clubs that don't reserve rooms. They don't really even meet any longer, but they continue to be on that list. My guess is that the 250 will probably be somewhere around there. But we would have a wait list of those who want to join, and that wait list would sit there until a spot opens.
And Jennifer, just one other point that I know you made, and I'm going to go to Annette in a second, is that 250, the number 250 came up because that's what it typically remains, right about 250 through the years it's been there.
Yes.
So that's how they arrived at that number. Okay, go ahead, Annette.
But if you want me to address why we have the recent increase of the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's a really good
Yes,
point.
so 250 has been the average number, but we did at one point in time have a policy which allowed individual residents to book rollover reservations. That policy changed a couple years ago, and once that happened, all those individuals went out and started clubs so that they could get that rollover. So we have a bunch of clubs that were just formed in order for the rollover reservation.
For that purpose.
For that
only.
purpose solely, yes.
Yes, okay, go ahead, Annette.
And therefore, we basically came up with this through much discussion through recreation about, limiting this. The other thing was, these clubs that are on the wait list then, that have formed, will not be able to make themselves available to all the benefits of being one of the 250 clubs. Like, they won't get the free TV, and they won't get all the other things that current clubs have. And I was just wondering, after listening to you, if there are clubs out there that are not in compliance, I'm wondering if there should be a sort of a published list of clubs that aren't in compliance and a due date for them to get in compliance. This way, if people were thinking about joining them, most people wouldn't want to join a club that isn't fulfilling their obligations to Laguna Woods Village. And I think there should be some way that should be communicated, and people should go in, that's full transparency with your eyes open. You don't want to be paying fees thinking you're a club member, your club's not really adhering to anything in the village that it should be adhering to. Just a thought.
Okay, maybe,
Judith.
Jennifer, so if you want to start a club, now, someone could still come in and start a club before we pass this on September 5th?
As of now, we have 4 of those that are pending, yes, that are currently being reviewed. Yes.
Okay, and when people aren't in compliance, do you notify them ahead of time? Do you give them any warning?
So we do send out letters, and then we make phone calls, and I can tell you that every single year there is a mass amount of clubs that are not complying. Every single year. We do a lot of hand-holding. We do a lot of nagging. And so as of now, we have 50 clubs that have not submitted a roster and an officer list.
Okay, anybody else up here? Cheryl, who do we have?
Our first speaker is Dick Rader.
Good morning, Dick.
Good morning. I want to address a clarification that I had to make after I attended the meeting where this was first brought forth, and I wonder if everybody's aware of it, and if I'm incorrect, I hope staff will correct me. At first, when I saw this, and I think when you read, a resident reads this, they're going to think that we're only going to have 250 clubs. Does anybody think that when you read this? Because that's not what it was meant to be, as far as I understand. The clarification is this. In order to have more rooms become available, they decided that 250 clubs would have rollover opportunities, okay? But any clubs that form beyond that would not have rollover opportunities. That means you can have, if I'm correct, you can have more than 250 clubs. You're just making sure that the ones that go above that will not have rollover opportunity. That means this is the main thrust, as I understand it. It isn't?
Jennifer, come on.
I think we had talked about there are several clubs that are not registered through recreation. Just to name 2, we have a Red Hats Club, we have a Barbara Club. They have chosen to stay completely out of the approval process. They don't get any benefits. They don't come in for rollovers, yet they are a club and they're in the Globe regularly. So there are other groups out there that are still organized. A resident can walk in. So if I had a club and I chose not to go through the recreation approval process, I can walk in, I can book a room, I can gather with my other members. But in order to get these benefits, they have to have the recreation approval.
Okay. So if I understand it correctly, you could form a club, and you could call yourself a club, is that correct? And you can rent a room. It's the leftovers. The rollovers reserved, but you get the leftovers. Is that correct?
Yes, that is
Okay,
correct.
so now I'm going to address the second point. The clubs that form beyond the rollovers, it sounds to me like you can't put flyers up at the clubhouses and you can't put in globe submissions. Is that correct?
You can still put a globe submission in, but you wouldn't be able to put a flyer up. We have to reference the Globe. I know the Globe asks us for a listing of our current clubs quarterly to reference who, because the Globe gives free articles to authorized clubs. The other clubs, I don't know if they're paying or not. I'm not involved in what the Globe does.
The TV audience didn't hear any of that, I'm afraid.
What's that?
Yeah. The TV audience didn't hear anything she just said.
I,
say it.
does she have to come up and say something?
So I can just mention that the Globe staff contacts us regularly asking for our current listing, and at that time, they're verifying what clubs are recognized. Clubs that aren't on that list, they can still put things in the Globe. They're most likely paying a fee. So you'd have to check with the Globe on that.
The way this is worded, it says specifically, it includes, look at paragraph 2. It's eliminating the globe submissions. But anyway, here's my point. The lifeblood of this community is the clubs. Eliminate the clubs, what do we have? So why are we trying to say that there's going to be, I understand rollovers, that's fine. But why limit the clubs that want to form beyond the 250 and say that they cannot put out flyers to advertise their event? I'll give you a quick example. United is forming a club, okay? And we may not, United Board is forming United Citizens, rather, are forming a club to inform United people more about the things that they want to know about, okay? So we may not even be able to advertise according to this. It's too restrictive for the clubs that are going to be formed. I agree that the main thrust of this, if you read it, has to do with limiting rollovers. So why would you then say to the clubs that are going to take the leftovers, they're only taking the leftover availability of rooms, why would you restrict them from can't advertise, can't tell anybody about what your club is about? Why are they even going to form a club then, if they can't tell people what it's about?
I could answer that.
Am I making
have
myself
two
clear?
people that can respond to that, and Annette is first, and then Judith.
We're not saying you can't form the club. We're saying that the club can be formed, but you're not going to get any benefits.
That's my point. Why form a club? We can't tell people and advertise to the community.
You're just
what
going to
club-
have to be waitlisted, and right now, they are going through that list very diligently because this takes a lot of monitoring, and there's only so much free time and everything else in order, some staff uses it and some staff. I understand what you're saying, but I also understand that, I thought that this was, considering all the problems and trying to deal with them, this proposal seemed.
Annette, what is rollover? Limitation of rollover?
We're having a dialogue.
Okay, this is not a discussion.
Why putting a flyer in the
Dick, your
clubhouse?
time is up.
Oh,
There are members up here that want to respond to what you said, but not have an argument. Annette, are you finished?
Yes.
Thank you. Judith's turn.
Okay. I was at the President's Club meeting that GRF sponsored, and several of us others were there. And one of the things that I got out of that meeting, along with the president of my club, is GRF cannot, number one, we're losing wall space for flyers. So only so many flyers can go up on the walls of the clubhouses. And the other thing is, we can't sustain the services for 300 or 400 clubs. And so that's why we have to tone it back to where the work is sustainable for the rec department. And if, Jennifer wants to add to that, but that's one of the things I got out of it. And to help pay for the overload is the $50. And most clubs, there was a lot of griping about the $50, but that's only a year. And we're a very small club, just have barely 21 people, and we don't have any problem with the $50, yet there was a lot of griping, more griping about the $50 than there was the cap on the number of approved clubs. So those are the two big reasons, wall space and I think sustainability on being able to manage and give all these benefits to 400 clubs if we don't put a cap on it.
Thank you, Diane.
I'm kind of conflicted about this because I understand what Dick says, but I think that everyone in recreation would probably the same thing, that clubs really are very important and they're the lifeblood. But in the end, I think I will vote in favor of this. A lot of from what Judith says, I just think that, this is a tool that staff wants, and we'll see what happens. And if something is wrong, we can always change it back. Jennifer?
I just wanted to add, because I understand the concern and we really don't know how big that wait list will be, and I think it would be a good idea for staff to report back at every CAC with a report of where we're at, how many clubs we have, how many are on the wait list, so that we can keep track of it, and if the wait list gets too long and there are too many clubs, then we can reassess it.
Right, good point. And I think Joan's next.
Jennifer, let me ask you, if a club pays the $50 to be an active club, but they don't have any need for rollovers, are they still entitled to all the amenities that a club is supposed to have?
There are actually two fees on here. So there is the $50 fee that every club will pay across the board for all of the benefits, and then there is an additional fee that you'll pay for a rollover.
Yes, I'm asking if you do not need rollovers.
So if you do not need
you still
rollover-
have the
you s-
privilege of using
With that
TV,
$50 fee, yes.
television and flyers and everything else.
Right, as long as you pay the $50 fee.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
Jennifer, based upon your answer, I thought, and I apologize for this, as the chair of CAC, yes, this should be on our agenda, and we'll make sure it hits our agenda every month. I think that was an excellent suggestion, and thank you. But as far as my understanding of this is, if you are a club and you pay the $50 fee, if you're one of the 250 clubs that make that, yes, you are entitled to this. If you are on the wait list, you do not get those benefits. Correct?
Because you have not been approved, so you're not an
Right.
official club
And
group.
right now, because of the amount of clubs, like you said, there were 4 that just went offline, and you're working diligently with the other 50, so this might be a non-issue by the next CAC meeting.
That is very possible.
Thank you.
Okay, Judith.
I just wanted to throw one other thing in there for Dick. My club's a new club. We're just barely a year old next month. And we've been waiting to have a really good function. And last June, early June, I went in to get a room for a function any Saturday. December 28th was the first available room on June 1st when I paid for it. We have to wait till December 28th to have our function because there weren't any rooms available. And that's just another thing you have to consider, share the wealth here.
Diane.
I just wanted a clarification. So the $50 will be paid by the clubs on the wait list as well?
No. Only the approved clubs.
Got it. Thank you.
Cheryl.
Mary Stone requested to speak.
Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, 356C. Yes, United is trying to form a new club because we have no way of getting our candidates to have a forum. Friends of the Village is no longer active. Residents' Voice is gone. Protect Private Properties is gone. Community Civic Association is not active. So in order to have a forum for our candidates to speak and to educate and support, various issues with United, we are trying to form this new association but now we can't even advertise our first meeting because it's just pending. So this is a real serious problem, and I think it needs further consideration. we're willing to pay the $50 for being on the wait list and all of that, but we've already scheduled a date to have a Meet the Candidates forum, and we already have a reservation. So now we can't advertise in the Globe or anything?
You can advertise. But you just, yeah. So,
Not if you pass this policy, because it says that we're on the pending list. We've got a reservation, but, we're not an approved club yet.
but you could, for example, right, the Barber Club or whatever, that are just independent clubs, you could be that.
If we vote again in 28
No,
days, this might not.
no,
be
then
an
we
issue.
can't advertise. How can we get information out to the United members about this meeting to come and meet the candidates, or to come for any other meeting to educate our candidates or discuss the issues at hand? We need to form this organization in order to be able to communicate with our members, because the other forums are gone.
And then
They're all directors.
go ahead, Diane.
You can go. I'm good.
All right, first of all, you're all directors, so you can be on television for United and speak about it.
No, we cannot.
It's not a
It's not a
board.
united board function. We're talking about input and education from the members, to the members, for the members of United. It's not a governance issue. It's an education issue and a support of the candidates for board.
Okay, I'm going to ask Diane to respond to that.
You're talking about one specific club, and we're really legislating or whatever for the entire body. But I think
Yes.
I am sure that the Recreation Department will work with you, and not even, you could do it through the CEO's office. You could do, there are options. The thing is, you said you've already submitted the paperwork to be a club.
Yes, we have.
Okay, so we're grandfathering in anybody above 250. Dick, you've already spoken once, so you know it's a point of order that you can't speak again. But,
I'm
right.
on for 16 seconds. Okay, so this is just one example of other clubs that might have a similar problem. They just said there was four on a waiting list. Who approves the waiting lists? Who, is this going to be done in CAC? Or is this going to be the board? Who's making the approvals of which club gets to be registered and which doesn't? And why?
Chronological order.
It's the, I think Don just said it right. No. Don, you just said it very quietly. Go ahead and say it.
It's approved by chronological order. Whenever you sign up, you get on the list. When the time comes up.
That's how it works. Okay, all of us on the board, if you have something burning that you must say, do it. We've discussed this quite a bit. Anybody out there, Cheryl, left to go?
I think they left.
Okay, all right. We are now going to vote on this resolution. And we are voting online. And do you need to have it read to you again? No. You know what's up, so people are voting right now. Go.
On hold for 28 days.
Yes, twice is not registered.
Okay. I'll do it for you.
So this passes, and I'm going to ask Jennifer to come up to the microphone for one more minute.
Just wanted to clarify that whenever we have new clubs, they have always been able, if they're in the process of joining, the Globe has always put, it's not in the club section, there's a separate section. If it's a first-time new club, they always put something in, say, new club forming. So they do work with the new clubs that are attempting to gather before they get their approval. And I can find out for you what section it is, but I know for a fact that they do that. Because how else do you invite everybody to your gathering organizational meeting? You have to get the word out some way. So the Globe does work with new clubs that are starting.
Okay. And Jennifer, you would work with Mary on some additional help.
Mary's club is not an issue.
Mary's Club is
No,
not
it's
an
already
issue.
been processed.
Well, whatever, Mary, the one that Mary's referring to. Okay, we've already voted, we passed this. We are now moving on to, where are we? Okay, we are on 13B. Entertain a motion to introduce a resolution to authorize CBD product sales in the Golf Pro Shop.
Resolution 90-19XX, CBD product sales in Golf Pro Shop. Whereas at the July Community Activities Committee meeting, staff recommended authorization of the resumption of the sale of non-THC CBD-based products at the 27-hole Golf Pro Shop. Whereas in 2018, golf staff was approached by a CBD cannabinoid sales representative from Medterra to sell CBD cream, tinctures, and capsules at the Golf Pro Shop. Whereas staff researched and discussed with health professionals about its safety and product viability, and it was determined that it was a safe product to sell from a respected manufacturer. Whereas the product was well received and generated more than $4,000 in merchandise sales. Whereas the product was removed in November 2018 due to misconceptions that the product contained THC, which has contributed to the high feeling of cannabis. However, CBD is a natural pain reliever with no psychoactive ingredients. And whereas many residents are under a pain management program through a medical professional and are on medicines that are harmful and or addictive, and the CBD option can offer relief for certain pains and aches without the harmful side effects. And whereas the sale of CBD products is estimated to increase retail sales by over $10,000 per year, and now therefore be it resolved, August 6, 2019, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby introduces authorization of the resumption of the sale of lotions or creams only, no oral ingestible, non-THC CBD-based products at the 27-hole Golf Pro Shop. Resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move we approve this resolution for discussion purposes only and to postpone the final vote for this for 28 days per Civil Code 4360.
I second it.
Okay, discussion. Yes, Annette?
Okay, I have a couple questions. And first of all, where it says here, further resolved, it would be the sale of lotion and cream only. I'm assuming that means there will be no tinctures and capsules. Is that correct?
It says no oral.
I didn't know what a tincture was. It's just an oil, but I didn't know if that meant if it was rolled on the skin, it could still be sold, and if it was placed under the tongue, it couldn't. So I just didn't understand that. So I wanted a little clarification, just creams and lotions, correct? All right, thank you. And then the other thing was, on the number, $4,000 in merchandise sale before it was pulled, and then the $10,000, it says retail, so I'm assuming that's a gross number, not a net number, and I just wanted clarification on that. And Tom McRae's voting is saying yes. He says it's a gross number. All right, thank you. No
Anyone
further
else?
questions.
Anyone else? Strangely quiet in here. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to participate? Oh, Bert, go ahead.
I could just add that last December, I had shingles, and the only thing that really did the job, okay, was both the lotion and the internal, okay, both drops and the pills. So, I mean, if anybody wants to get that material, or that, they can probably go to Mother's and purchase
Right.
it, so there's no big deal.
Right. All right. So I think we're going to vote Okay, all those, oh, well, whatever, voting on screen now, please.
Come on, not on my screen.
So yes, this does include capsules. So I'm voting, it says in capsules.
No oral.
Don't have-
Description of what the emails only.
Oh,
Down at
okay.
the bottom, it says the only thing that will sell is
Okay.
promotion. I think.
Yes,
does.
now therefore be it resolved.
Director English, your vote?
I don't have that on my screen.
Just tell me your, just tell me your vote and I'll record it.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. We are now on new business, item C. Entertain a motion to approve the donation of an air filtration system for Clubhouse 4 ceramics room. Joan.
Resolution 90-19 XX. Donation from Ceramic Slip Casting Club for air ventilation unit. Resolved August 6, 2019, the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation hereby accepts the donation of $2,528.50 for the ceramic slip cast from the Ceramic Slip Casting Club of Laguna Woods Village. And resolved further, the additional air ventilation unit will be added to enhance air quality and minimize dust in the Clubhouse 4 ceramics room, as it is susceptible to dust due to mixing of glazes, storage of glazed material, and dried out clay particles. And resolved further, the Golden Rain Foundation Board of Directors sincerely appreciates the generosity of the Ceramics Club of Laguna Woods Village, which reflects support of programs, services, and facilities that enrich the lives of older adults. I move we accept this resolution.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Judith, or Judith, okay. Discussion. Ray? No? Jim?
Yeah, this is a very good improvement. I highly appreciate that.
Good. Dick?
I was wondering, is there any other conditioning in that room?
Does anybody have an answer to that?
I haven't been in there, I haven't seen the room.
I wonder, do you,
I think there already is one.
I think there is.
There is.
Yeah.
There's one already there.
Siobhan, do you have any idea?
It'll be a second unit.
I was looking at the recreation staff, but they don't know.
It's the second unit, I believe.
Right, it's a second unit. There is one there already.
It is the second unit. That's what our paperwork says, it's the second unit, so there is one there.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? All those in favor of accepting this donation, use your screen. Motion passes. Good. And next, we have under new business, number 13D, to entertain a motion to accept a donation from Village Community Fund for Video Club equipment. And Joan.
Resolution 90-19 XX, donation from Village Community Fund for video learning facilities. Resolved August 6, 2019, the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation hereby accepts the donation of $2,000 from the Village Community Fund, a nonprofit public benefit corporation. And resolved further, the funds will be used to purchase office chairs, computer desks, and stacking chairs to be located in the Clubhouse 2 annex facilities used for video learning activities. And resolved further, the Golden Rain Foundation Board of Directors sincerely appreciates the generosity of all who contributed to the Village Community Fund fundraising campaign, which reflects support of programs, services, and facilities that enrich the lives of older adults. I move we approve this resolution.
I second it.
Can I make a Scrivener's? I said a Scrivener's.
Okay, I don't know who Who's first,
It was just a
Diane,
little,
and then
if you could
Judith?
say up to 2,000, if you would just
Why?
insert up to, because I'm not positive it's going to be 2,000 based on what it is they need. And the other is, in the second paragraph, computer desks, equipment, and stacking chairs, so that it's a little clearer as to what they're getting. I just thought both were sort of clarifications is all.
Computer desk, comma, equipment,
Yes.
separate word.
Yes. And, yeah.
Okay,
The up to 2,000 is, we're not exactly sure what the amount will be, that they, purchasing has to make that decision, and then,
okay. Judith, your hand was up.
Oh, I just want to ask Dan, this Village Community Fund, is that the one that you put together so people can donate money for a chair? John did, is he going to speak? Good. I was hoping that was the one. So that's how we could pay for our new seats in the PAC, is by donations. Good.
John Parker, welcome.
Sitting here for the last 3 hours or so reminded me why the last time I was here was November 17 of 2017. But since I left the board, one of the things that I committed to was to create an entity that would allow members of our community to make a donation that would receive a tax break. So we have created a 5013C. We are fully legal. The name of it is the Village Community Fund. Anyone can go online and simply put in the words villagecommunityfund.org, and you will reach our website. The website was largely through the efforts of Lucy Parker from the Video Club and Eric Ordway, but all the various components of what's on the website was the result of a committee and so on. You spoke earlier, one of your goals is to look for alternative revenue sources. This community has really been a little late to the game, because one only needs to go to any hospital, any college, almost any performing arts center, whatever, and see all the donations that are acknowledged that help reduce the capital expenditures. And so I hope it was wonderful to see that a club actually donated money for the facility they're improving. I was hoping I'd hear something from the tennis club this morning, but I didn't. How nice it would be if they contributed something to a facility that almost entirely benefits them. Okay, so back to what we're doing here this morning. I have a check for up to $2,000, which I will give to your treasurer. And what we're doing this morning is also establishing a procedure by which funds which are collected by the Village Community Fund go back to GRF. And one other thing that you'll see on the website is that if a person has an idea of how they would like to do something to improve the village, that has to go through all the normal channels. It has to go to the appropriate GRF committee. It has to go through the appropriate staff, et cetera. So it's not like somebody can decide they want to put a sculpture in the middle of the golf course and all they have to do is throw some money at it. Everything goes back through the normal channels. The only difference is where the money comes from. So those of you sitting at home, get your checkbooks out, talk to your financial planners.
Thank you, John. Thank you. This is a new group, but I think it will be one of the most valuable new entities in our community. Don?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on this. I remember when John was served as president of GRF, and they started this, or you were talking about it, but I haven't heard a thing at all about this. We ought to advertise it. I think it's great.
Well, we wanted, you know, how you launch something, you want to know that you're doing it right.
Right.
And so we didn't feel we were quite ready for the ball yet. But the original time that this came into my consciousness was when I was on the GRF board with Margaret Klein. And she was approached by someone who wanted to donate $250,000. And because we had no mechanism, no procedure, no way of accepting that money and having any kind of a tax benefit, et cetera, that money went away. And so that was like, I want to say 4 years ago. So that was one of the reasons why. Hopefully, you'll hear more of us, because one of the things we've been waiting for is the completion of the drawings for the Performing Arts Center, which have taken an interminable amount of time to accomplish. And evidently, we're going to finally see them at a meeting on August 15th. But that is such a natural project for people to contribute.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate it.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Do we need a vote to accept it, Joan? I bet we do.
We have a motion on the floor.
Okay, a motion's on the floor. So we will vote on screen to say all those in favor of accepting this donation.
Director Palmer, your vote, please. Your vote?
Yeah, you gotta vote.
Your vote.
What? Oh.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Thanks, John. Thanks for your patience and waiting. And we are now on new business, number 13, item E. Entertain a motion to award a contract for the Gate 16 Golf Driving Range Design Consultant. And we have a couple other people who have been sitting here all this morning waiting also. Joan, please read that.
Read what?
Oh, a motion to, entertain a motion to, oh, there's no contract to read.
Can you want me to make a motion?
Okay, so a motion.
Do you want me to make a motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we accept staff's recommendation to award a professional contract to Community Works Design Group in the amount of $94,127 to prepare construction documents and contractor bid packages for the Gate 16 Golf Driving Range project.
And Joan seconds that, so discussion. Bert?
That probably, in my estimation, is one of the most impressive pieces of work I've seen staff produce. They really need to be complimented on this.
Thank you. Yes.
In reading through this thing, I've been over there quite a bit, and I have problems with this, and I'd like to actually see it go to M&C. If you read this, there are two things that's wrong with the current golf driving range, and that's bare dirt and heavily rutted. And we got a group here called Landscape, and it'd be nice if those folks would get out there and with some of their little equipment and fill in all this rutted stuff, and also also this driving range is a very informal area. People dress real loose. If you want to play golf, you go over on a golf course, people look a lot nicer. This is indicating it's taking $500,000 to fix up this beat-up place, that because it apparently hasn't had anyone working out there to fill in these ruts and the bare dirt. The people that use that are young or new people to golfing, so they can knock the ball all over the place. And I don't know, I just think this is so much money for this. So anyway, I'd vote no on this.
Okay, I have three people in line. It's Annette, and then Diane, and then Joan.
Okay. The driving range is an integral part of anybody who plays the game of golf. Golfers go there to warm up before they start play. Experienced golfers do. That's how they keep a lower handicap. It's critical. We've had lots of, and by the way, the golf course, the grounds fall under CAC. It doesn't fall under GRF landscape, number one. Number two. The other thing is, we've talked about this considerably, the equipment that they use at the driving range to pick up the balls and stuff is heavily damaged. It can't even function where the balls roll to the sides due to the excessive rain that caused all of the soil and stuff to go downhill. So it needs to be remedied, and it is, like what Bert said, this was an excellent piece of put together by staff as far as how to remedy this problem and to really see how complex it is. So that was what they're trying to resolve. I totally support what they're trying to do, and I was amazed at how complex it is, but I'm glad that they've totally outlined it in a beautiful way for me. Thank you.
And then it's Diane.
The GRF board approved the project, or the funding for this project, part of our 2019 capital plan. This was at MNC, but MNC didn't suggest canceling the project, but they recommended we postpone it and did not do it until 2020. They did this because, as I recall, because you guys thought it would be a cost savings. This was when you were moving projects from 2019 to 2020. But at the direction of the board, staff has already solicited bids and is ready to award a contract. So for me, now is not the time for us to decide to postpone the project. The delay isn't, if we delay it until next year, it isn't going to save costs, because when you move it, if you move it merely from one year to a subsequent year, it doesn't reduce costs. In fact, it wastes money in that staff will have to solicit bids again, they'll have to review the bids again, and they'll have to again prepare a staff report. In addition, we know now what the current bid is, but where we would risk having a different bid or changing the amount, right, if we wait until next year. So for me, I am in favor of this motion. It's important that this project be completed sooner rather than later, because there are significant challenges to staff with the driving range's current designs and conditions, and it's possible that our golf operations manager, he's here if you have any questions, or if he wants to make some comments.
It's Joan and then Judith.
I speak in favor of this motion, but I'd like to hear from Tom and the staff.
As Tom's walking up, I'm just going to mention from the CEO's perspective is that there are really two phases here. There's the construction of the project, which is the big $500,000, but we can't get to that process and can't move on that until we have a design completed. We have the award here, we want to get a design, then we know, put it out to bid, then we know what the cost is going to be, and we can come back and say, hey, it's going to cost more than we thought it was, or we're going to be able to do it cheaper. But we got to get the design done and move on this project, since you as a board have already put it in this year's budget to move forward. So that's why we're recommending this to you today. I'll turn it over to Tom.
Okay, so, but wait a minute, because on the dais, Judith has her hand up. I'm sorry, Tom, hang on.
I have to agree with Jim Mattson. If we start voting on things that don't go through the normal channels, it's going to set a precedent. And I think it should have gone, the extra 100,000 should have been brought to M&C. Oh, it's not extra?
It's a
That's
part
it.
of the $500,000 that we've already funded.
Yes.
That's why it came to us, was that we already did the funding. And so I think it's that a committee can't, in essence, unfund it. They were trying to move it from 2019 to 2020.
So it has gone through the normal.
So that's part of the 500,000 that's
Correct.
already been approved in the 19 plan. Thank you for clarifying that, because it wasn't written.
Okay, and Annette had her hand up, and then I think we can go to you, Tom. Hang on.
No, originally at the M&C, I was the one that basically talked about this and maybe rolling it over to 2020, but then I really realized after viewing it how complex this is. We have it in the money, we have the money in the budget now, and it needs to be done because all it is hindering staff and their efficiencies. Go ahead, Tom, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I think everybody on the board has spoke to the points that I could make, so I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. I mean, the driving range project is a necessity to have an operational driving range. I think the only other option really is to close it and not have a driving range. We have HR issues with employees that are, our employees are resident employees. They're retired folks driving in a cart that's a good, solid vehicle, but it's being rutted around, they're being bounced around, and they've actually, I'm sure Siobhan can speak to, there have been some of my employees that have gone to visit HR with complaints, whether it's the dust, whether it's the ruts, whether it's just their inability to be able to obtain the balls. I've got to numerous times during the year. We did it this last time when we were closed, but usually I have to personally buy pizza for some guys on Sean's crew to go down the side of the hill and obtain our assets, which are our golf balls that we buy to use at the range. That are they all funnel down. If you ever go up there, all you need to do is see one ball hit and see it hit into the middle of the driving range. It ends up down the hill. We spent a lot of time, the last time, just putting chicken wire down the bottom of the fencing so the balls wouldn't fly through the fence. So and quite often the balls that we find are balls that were probably hit once. And another point to speak of the driving range necessity is that when it does rain, if it rains maybe a quarter of an inch overnight, we're closed for 3 or 4 days. Because the equipment cannot pick up the range balls. So, really the options are, if we're going to have a practice facility, which obviously we want to have, this project, and this project will last for a very, very long time. Once it's in place, once the agronomy is in place, once the irrigation and the drainage is in place, it will just be up to us to just manage it like we do the golf course. So there'll be little fixes here and there along the way, but it was let to get to the point that it is now, and we've got to revive it.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody have a question for him? Yes, Jim.
Do you folks have a program now when the man goes out to pick up the balls and he sees a rut there, that he notes that and tells somebody, then they go out with a bucket of dirt or something and fill that in?
Well, we do on a constant basis listen to our employees, and when we do see something that we need to manage, but quite honestly, it's probably, how many acres does that range? 4 acres. It's 4 acres of land, and it's pretty much all one big rut. There's very, very little out there that is not a rut. And we have a process, we have a small grader that we use, something similar to what you see at a baseball field when they smooth out the footprints. Because it's so soft, we can't actually go out there, and we do that on a regular basis, to where we try to make it as usable as possible. But every time we irrigate it, it's just like anything else. It's like a canyon gets created, and we have to do it again and again and again. So it's not something that's sustainable.
Thank you.
Okay, now.
All right, the ruts are actually as big as vehicles. They're bigger than the podium right here, the brown spots. It's not like it's like a divot. It's humongous when you go out there. And there's, they said it's 4 acres, and it's just, there's a lot of them on a continuous basis. I have gone out there to use it, believe me, and it's a mess.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you so much, Tom. Okay, we are going to vote on this motion to award a contract for the Gate 16 Golf Driving Range Design Consultant. All those in favor or not, vote on the screen.
Annette, were you saying that your golfing was a mess or that the range was a mess?
Both.
There's
Director,
one other.
Director Soul, did you vote?
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. Did it come up? I voted yes.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you so much. And now we are going to go to committee reports. And the entire committee reports can be found at the following link, lagunawoodsvillage.com, Residents Golden Rain Foundation documents. First, a report of the Business Planning Committee, Director Phelps.
I was actually just going to do it of the Finance Committee. Is that okay? I'll
That's
include
good.
it all. Okay.
That's good.
Okay. I think I've said enough. This meeting's gone on very long, so I will, let's start with the review of the June 30, 2019 preliminary financial statements. I'll try to be as quick as possible. Slide 1. Through the reporting period ended June 30, 2019, total revenue for GRF from all sources was $22.3 million, and total expenses were $20.5 million, resulting in net revenue of almost $1.8 million. Next slide. In finance, we keep a close eye on the operating portion of our financial results. As you can see on this slide, the operating fund, without depreciation, shows an operating surplus of just over $498,000 through the reporting period. Note, this amount should be adjusted by the unrealized gain or loss we started reporting this month instead of only at the end of the year. So the $498,000 should be reduced by $338,000 to show a net operating surplus of just over $160,000. We'll make that change next month. Slide 3. This next chart shows the same figures of the income statement from slide 1, but adds a column to compare them to budget. You can see on this slide that GRF ended the period better than budget by $296,000, primarily due to lower expenses to date than we projected. This slide shows our most significant variances by category, with green bars representing favorable variances and orange bars representing unfavorable items. The favorable variances, let's see. Overall, we had more revenue and fewer expenses than expected. The favorable variants are in miscellaneous. This is the $338,000 favorable variance, and it's for unrealized gain on investments. We used to report it only once at the end of the year, but have been asked to report it quarterly. Remember, these are unrealized gains. Interest income was $189,000 more than budgeted. Employee compensation is $166,000 due to less participation in medical and retirement benefits. There are a couple due to timing, repairs, materials and supplies, and then utilities are $102,000 less because of irrigation, because of the rain we had. Unfavorable variances included the trust facilities fee that's down by $206,000, but as I said, with the interest income was $189,000 positive, so those are close to a wash. Golf operations are down $193,000 unfavorable variance due to primarily to rain requiring course closures and also limiting carts to the cart pass. Let's see, rental and event revenue is down $121,000, and we've made an adjustment to that in the next year's budget. And then cable programming, franchise fees, copyright are $133,000 higher programming fees than were budgeted. And again, as you know, we've made a change in the 2020 budget, and there we have removed a couple of stations that were rather expensive. Okay, the next slide is expenses to date of $18.2 million, excluding depreciation. Our largest categories are compensation, followed by cable TV, insurance, and so on. The ratio of these expenses changes as work is performed throughout the year. Slide 6, we have sources of revenue other than monthly assessments, such as fees and rentals that we refer to as non-assessment revenues. To date, we have received almost $7 million. Broadband services generated the most revenue, followed by the trust facilities fees and so on. Non-assessment revenue helps keep down our monthly assessments. Slide 7. This slide shows resale history from 2017 to 2019. Community-wide sales this year total 376 through June 30th. Much of these transactions generated the $5,000 trust facilities fee, which is the primary source of revenue for our reserves. And now for the reserve and contingency fund adjusted balances. They're shown on slide 8. Starting with the first column on the left, the funds show a combined balance of $29.5 million. Included in this total are contributions received this year through assessments, trust facilities fees, and interest earnings. The second column shows work in progress of $5.8 million, reflecting the amounts paid for projects that are not yet complete. And then the third column shows the net of the first two. The net adjusted fund balances are $23.7 million. We look at the next slide, slide 9. We compare our average year, our current year balances to historical fund balances for the past 5 years. GRF has averaged about $23 million in reserve and contingency funds over the last 5 years, and we're still on the same track. And now for slide 10. This slide shows the $23 million. That $23 million has been appropriated by the board for various projects and equipment purchases, and that the remaining encumbrances against our reserve and contingency funds is $14 million. The list on this slide gives you an idea where our reserve funds are committed. Let's see, I will skip that part because of time. That's it for the slides, but I remind you that more detail is provided in the GRF Finance Committee meeting agenda packets, which are available online and at GRF Finance Committee meetings. Yesterday, we had a televised presentation of version 2 of the GRF 2020 budget. We will vote on the final version of our budget at our September board meeting. Our next finance meeting will be in a couple of weeks. It's on Wednesday, August the 21st at 1:30 in the boardroom. And if you came to yesterday's budget meeting and were less than satisfied because we didn't answer all of your questions, especially in the detail in which people wanted, it was because yesterday's meeting was not the forum for answering detailed finance questions. But, this is also true of these GRF board meetings when people come up and make members' comments. But I urge you to come to the GRF Finance Committee meetings where we do go over our current financial statements in much, much, much more detail. Again, it's August 21st at 1:30. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And that's it for finance.
Task force, shared cost task force.
The investment
We
task
have
force?
it up here, yeah, shared cost task force.
Well, we're going to meet, the revenue side of it is meeting on Monday, just the few of us, and we're going to sort of do some administrative work and sort of figure out our plan of how we're going forward, and then we will report, because we need to report something to the Finance Committee meeting. And then our meetings after that will be more open. Okay, or include other people, because our goal is to get more people involved. We just want to meet once, because our only meeting we've had so far was a big open meeting. So we want to at least meet once, just the small group.
Right. Did you want to say anything on that, Ira?
Well, the only thing is, we are going to have our initial meeting on Thursday, August the 15th, from 10 to 12 here in the boardroom. And it is an initial meeting. We're still under formulation, but come if you're interested. Thank you. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
And we are putting this task force report on each of our board agendas each month. The hope is that by next March 2020, we will have a solution. We will be finished with this particular task force and have a resolution with corporate members voting and whatnot. Each time that they come up, they may not have a lot of something to say to you. Annette may say to you, we're continuing our research, and not list off all the research that they're putting in place. And the same thing for Diane. But we're honoring that task force and putting it on the agenda each month. Thank you. And next we have CAC. Annette.
Okay, we basically did a lot of CAC issues today, so I'll keep this brief. First, our next meeting will be on Thursday, September the 12th at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. And one of the items for our future agendas is we did do an emeritus survey, and then the results of the survey packet, and we requested a small ad hoc committee be formed to review the data. Those people are Director Carpenter, Director Millman, Director Margolis, Dick Rader. They volunteered for the committee, and I will be putting together a time that we'll meet. I haven't done that yet. The other things that were covered in today's meeting was the air filter donation request, the tennis renovation, and there is something about the drop-in lounge update. Staff will continue, and they are researching the staggered programming with different programs throughout the day and evening, and they continue to monitor the situation. There continues to be no negative comments regarding the lack of sound, but we are continuing. Rec Director Brian Gruner is always updating us regarding the drop-in lounge. There will be some swim classes, and they will begin on August the 2nd, and their cost is $45 for 2 weeks. So if you're interested, please contact the rec department. Mr. Gruner reported that new banquet chairs have been purchased for the clubhouses. New pool furniture will be replaced at all pools, except Pool 1, as they've already been replaced. The garden centers now have a newsletter. Weeding and tree removal was contracted with a tree trimming vendor. Sidewalks were repaired at Garden Center 1 to allow for ambulance access to all Garden Center 1. The library was provided 25 chairs from the community center. And Recreation has met with the Registrar of Voters to make enhancements, ensuring that better service for our voters. The patio concerts at Clubhouse 1 continue to do well. Twilight Golf sells out each month. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette.
You're going to mention the flags?
The what?
The flags?
Are you going to talk about the lap swimmers, and the flag? That was your special meeting.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. I apologize. At the special meeting on Thursday, July 23rd, we met, and this was one of the things members spoke on the following topics: the installation of backstroke swim flags and stanchions, making Pool 2 a lap swim pool only. And what we're doing right now is Brian Gruner is looking into that for us, and he'll get back to us and report back at the next CAC committee meeting. He will be giving us more options, or all the options for the backstroke flags. They're going to be researched.
I thought he was going to go right to GRF on September 2nd, because it wasn't very much money.
You know what? I believe that
I
that
think
is
you
going to
might
happen.
have.
You're right.
I think we're waiting
I
to see what he
apologize.
comes up with.
Okay.
If it's possible, then he might do that.
And then the other item for discussion was to amend the facility use policy regarding 4515. And I believe that that will be presented that's been presented to our lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Director Moldo, Landscape.
Yeah, Landscape did not meet last month. Director Kurt Wyman has been investigating what we might be able to do to hopefully return the creek to its original appearance. Earlier this year, in compliance with all of the restrictions imposed by various governmental agencies, the reeds were chopped down. If anybody went out there about 5 weeks after the effort to chop down the weeds, you'll find out that they came back with vengeance. So Kurt will provide us with the current status of his negotiations with the various agencies at the next landscape meeting, to be held August the 14th at 1:30 in the boardroom. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert.
If I might, please, I'd like to add something to that, if you don't mind.
Yes.
This is a very important thing. I know it says we're on air, but I don't know whether it's even going to be produced, but it's very important. The wind has caused a lot of problems for fire damage. What I'm saying is that in my place alone, I have pulled out 4 big piles of pine stuff that falls against the sides of the building. And I use a rake and I pull it out so that it's not a fire hazard. That information is extremely important. Maybe the people themselves could do it, because our landscape people don't get around to every other week. And I'm just trying to prevent fire hazard situations, and this is really, really important. If it's not being televised now, Bert, perhaps you might mention that at your meeting. Thank you.
Well, that's not GRF's responsibility. Ray, that basically should be
I
done.
realize it's
It
the
should be done at the
homeowner's
mutuals.
responsibility, but we have, the people that go around, our landscape people go around and do the lawn mowing and so forth and so on. If we had that stuff pulled away from the buildings, they'll pick it up.
I don't
They do it
argue
at my
with you.
place all the time.
It's
Thank
an
you.
important point and should be handled, at their board meetings.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, Maintenance and Construction Committee, Director Mattson.
Thank you. Gate security project, as you folks know, the gate project is on its last phase and mostly ahead of schedule. Gates 10 and gate 14 were reopened 2 weeks ahead of schedule on July the 22nd. The reopening of gate 4 has been delayed due to scheduling issues with Southern California Edison installation of new electrical service to that gatehouse. The gate is scheduled to reopen on August the 19th if no further delays from Southern California Edison. Gate 4 is providing pedestrian access only 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Alternate gates for gate 4 are gates 1, 2, which are open 24/7, and gate 3, which is open 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Last thing, on July the 2nd, the board approved supplemental appropriation and award a contract for the repair of the upper deck and exterior block wall to prevent moisture intrusion into the space below. The construction work will be scheduled in coordination with the clubhouse event calendar. That's Clubhouse 4. This is a very important one, and once we get this done, this is going to open up a lot of square footage for different staff activities. You'd like me to do PAC? Are you going to do it?
I'll do PAC.
Okay. I'm all through
We
with.
have waited so long for this report from the architects to come, and they will be coming on August 15th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in this boardroom and bring their designs for the completion of the PAC, as well as some dollar signs assigned to it if we wish to use our fundraising group to raise funds to do some of the desired additions. So that will be happening in just a couple weeks. And the Energy Task Force is yours, Jim.
Okay. By the way, the next MNC meeting will be August the 14th, so it's coming up here. Okay, Village Energy Task Force. The Southern California Incentive Project, SCIP, promotes easy to zero emission vehicle infrastructure by offering rebates for the purchase and installation of eligible public electric vehicle chargers. The GRF board has taken advantage of this rebate and approved the installation of 5 new EV charging stations. Construction work on the charging stations located behind our community center here is on schedule to be completed well before the state rebate deadline. The concrete pads were poured on July the 26th, and the electrical infrastructure was completed Friday, August the 2nd. The remaining work is scheduled to be fully completed by the beginning of September. The next meeting for the Village Energy Task Force is the 4th of September.
Thank you, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
And Director Millman, Media and Communications.
Working on it. Okay. Okay, Media and Communications met July 15th at 1:30, and we had quite a few people there. We heard reports from Chuck Holland and Eileen Pollan. One thing that came up was that the Koreans lost their television channels due to an accident that had occurred during scheduled maintenance, which Chuck explained. However, anytime anything happens to your channels, we want you to call broadband, find out what's going on, and they'll be happy to help you. Mr. Holland reported on merchandise sales, broadband services, miscellaneous revenues of all kinds. And Ms. Poland reported on the docent tours, new resident orientations, the Breeze, the Centenarian Project. One thing that was mentioned were the upcoming elections. There will be individual interviews of each candidate, so watch for their rebroadcast on television. It's a good way to meet the candidates, in addition to each board's Meet the Candidates meetings. Next, you'll be hearing from us regarding something on foreign language translation, especially for critical communications such as trash disposal and recycling. They're working on the website all the time. One of the things they'll be working on strongly is the search engine. So you should be getting better results soon. And that's the end of my report at this time. Our next meeting will be Monday, August 19th at 1:30 here in the boardroom.
Yes, I wanted to
report
say
from
one thing
Thrive.
about Thrive. We did not have a meeting in August, but I want to give a shout out and a thank you to the Recreation Committee for, during Grandparents' Day, they set up our centenarian project with the pictures of our folks that are centenarians, with a picture of them in their youth. And they set that up in one of the rooms in Clubhouse 2, and they were there, Recreation answered questions and gave out literature for Thrive, and we do appreciate that and say thank you to the Recreation Department for working with us. And next, we have Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Gross.
Fine. We did not meet last month. However, we will be having a meeting tomorrow afternoon at 1:30. An update is, earlier today was mentioned that a 18-passenger bus was delivered to us and is already in process of being used. The second 18-passenger bus was recently delivered. Staff is in the process of installing the radios, cameras, but the bus will be put into service in mid-August. The new bus will be used for the regular fixed route system. Staff is still evaluating the draft fixed route changes in revision to the Plan a Ride program as recommended by our consultants, Furr and Peers. M&V Committee will be reviewing a proposal for Age Well Senior Services to purchase fuel from GRF. That'll be done tomorrow. Our ridership trends for the Plan a Ride and Easy Ride for the first periods January through June. A total number of individual rides, which is monthly average. Fixed rides were 513. Plan a Ride was 334. There was a lot of complaints about the phone situation. The phone data update for the first and second quarters for 2019 was collected in calls. The transportation department wore this. First monthly was 15,550 phone calls. The second quarter was 15,284 calls. It takes about a minute and 54 seconds to complete a call. In some cases, it goes as much as 2.5 minutes. Like I do, we will be meeting tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 here in this building. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. So tomorrow, 1:30 in this room, mobility meeting. And next, we have the report of the Security and Community Access Committee, Director Tibbetts.
Okay, we also didn't have a meeting this month. I would like to bring you up to date on a couple of things. That there's no major concerns reported for since the last meeting. The number one call to security remains falls. People will fall outside and inside, and so I am glad to hear that Chris Collins mentioned again this morning that we will have 4 classes on fall prevention. And it'll be in August, and if anyone is interested in taking those, you can get more information from Resident Services. Our next meeting will be August 26th at 1:30 in this room. And then I'd like to ask Ray to report on traffic hearings.
Yeah, I neglected to put the information out on the Laguna Canyon Foundation. We have these pamphlets up at the front desk for your availability. The most important thing is when you're on these walks and activities, bring water and make sure you're wearing a hat and so forth to protect yourself because of the heat and so forth. You need to make online reservations in many of the cases on time, and it's very simple to do it. You do it through the Laguna Canyon Foundation, and they will take care of a lot of the information for you. It's called Please Sign Up at lagunacanyon.org/events. Now, as to the traffic situation, we had 11 persons arrive, and this is the type of situations we had. This was in July, by the way. We had 2 for speeding, 11 to 15 miles, 1 for valid, no license being provided, 2 for failure to stop, 1 for parking violation, which is very simple all the time, 1 for limited time parking, then 2 for no valid GRF vehicle declaration, 1 for expired vehicle registration, no parking zone. We had 4 letters involving parking absence, access, failure to stop, no GRF parking decal, no parking zone. So we had 8 guilties, 4 guilties with no fine. And like I say, on these letters that come in, the people can't make it, but we will take it as though they're still there and handle it the same way as if they were present. And while we're doing this, we show people videos of what their situation would be, the speed, for instance. We show them why it happens and so forth. And we explain all the time, please be careful because of the age and the animals that are in here, age of the people are in, the animals are in here, like I said. And a lot of times people see these for the first time and they really appreciate it. A lot of times, and believe it or not, we find them not guilty or find them guilty with no fine. And in a sense, that's a shame because they do it again. And this is a real problem that happens all the time. And I tried to explain to the other members on the committee, be aware of this situation. Anyway, thank you very much. The next meeting will be in the middle of this month, I believe the 21st of this month, at 9 o'clock in this building, and then 1 o'clock in the afternoon upstairs.
Thank you so much, Ray. And now, item 15, future agenda items. We do not have any there. And item 16, director's comments. And I am going to start director's comments over here with Director Tibbetts.
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Nothing?
Nothing?
No comment.
No comment.
Okay.
I do want to add, since I remembered from security that they're about the falls, to remind everybody that there are classes here in the village that are offered and also emerited health classes under the Code 502. They have chair classes for our seniors. They have sequential stretch, yoga, and Tai Chi, which all help with balance. And if you can, I would recommend one of those. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad we're coming to the rescue of the tennis small building that they have.
Hi, I'm speaking directly to the television audience, because if you look in the room here, there's not one soul out here in the chairs. So one thing I forgot to say during the disaster report, we only meet on odd months. Our next meeting is September, Tuesday the 24th at 9:30, right here in this boardroom. And sometimes you'll hear me during the meeting ask some consider a silly question or ask for someone to clarify something we've read, and I may get teased about it from my board members. However, I do that for a reason, because the TV audience, not everyone has access to a computer and can get the written agenda. And when we talk fast, like someone in the audience said today, you get lost. So if I'm confused about something, I'm pretty sure the people at home may be confused, and so I frequently ask you to repeat something or clarify the difference between this number and that number, so I do that for the audience. So if you were not recording this session, then your time might have ran out if you didn't extend your time on your recorder. So if you want to catch the end of this meeting, you have to go to the replay tonight or on Thursday evening. So that's good information to have. Thank you.
Pat?
Yes, I'm kind of reluctant to ask this question, but I feel I must. I would like to know if all these task force committees that have been formed over the last few weeks are being formed under the organization as we are told in our GRF bylaws, 7.1.1, 7.1.2, and 7.1.3. Thank you.
Thank you. Siobhan? Jeff? I want to say thank you to all of you hanging in there, and the passion that you bring to this dais, as well as the intellect and perseverance. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. This meeting is adjourned.